Didn't realize I didn't have myself set up and ready to go. Anyway, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I am your host, Rockin Robbie Billups. We are live tonight to talk about the best comics of the month. But before you go, hey, Robbie, there's still one more new comic book day this month. Yeah, we know that, but we are committed to 12 episodes this year of the monthly review. And next week, I'm at MegaCon. So if you're going to be at MegaCon, be sure to swing by, say what's up. Where am I going to be? All over the damn place. But it's going to be a fun time. So if you see me, do not hesitate to say, what's up? Take a selfie. I'll do whatever. If you got a piece of paper, I'll draw you a little tapeworm boy. I'll do all that kind of stuff. Speaking of tapeworm boy, you know that we cannot have the monthly panel without monthly Manny. What's up, Manny?
Station, dude. Station. Monthly Manny. I like that because that's been my release schedule for my videos lately. I don't think I've released one, but maybe once this month.
What you're so good at is taking old stuff and reformatting it, right? You do that.
Oh, heck yeah. That's because I'm lazy and it becomes new content.
I think that's, I don't know, man. That still requires editing. You have to do something, right?
At least till the AI figures that out. Once the AI figures out how to do that for me, man, easy sailing.
Dude, you just wait. We'll level up, all of us. Speaking of leveling up, we're leveling up the show. First time on the channel, everybody. Give a mighty hearty station and a pop boom to carry the officially unofficial geek, the OUG. That's right. It's Carrie. What is up?
Hi, guys. Hi, everybody.
Hey, Station. We're very excited to have you here. We see you in the chat all the time. You're a valued member of our community. So thank you for stepping in and joining us this month.
Of course. I got the call and I came. Yeah.
Exactly. Like a Ghostbuster.
It's like the bat phone, actually, from the 1960s Batman.
Nice. That's right. Yeah. Speaking of bat phones, I have nothing. It's Brian. Brian's name starts with a B, like bat phone does. What's up, Brian?
It does, yeah. Yeah, doing good. Glad to be here. Heck yeah, man.
Heck yeah, I'm glad you're here too. Just in the nick of time. Speaking of the nick of time, it's Nick from Comic Culture. What is up, my man?
How have we not used that before? I can't believe
He practiced that all day.
He did. I don't want to be in that mind. He's got so many transitions in that mind. I can't even predict them anymore.
I wish it did, man. I wish it did. They just come up with spur of the moment. You know, someone says something, I'm like, it doesn't matter what you say. Let's do it. You know, speaking of whatever. So we're here to talk about the best comics of the month. And what we're doing, of course, like we usually do, we're going to have like 3 rounds where we talk about our favorites of the month. And then we'll have a little bit of rapid fire at the end to cover anything that we haven't yet mentioned. So monthly Manny's going to kick us off. Manny, what was your favorite comic of the month so far? And everybody in the chat, thank you for joining us. We'll start throwing up who's all in here. But Manny, monthly you are. Tell us, what's the pick of the month?
Absolutely. So pick of the month this month, I thought it was going to be Slim Pickens, and then March 15th hit, and that was a hell of a week. My pick for the month is Where Monsters Lie, issue number 2. I've absolutely been loving Where Monsters Lie. This one did a very, very good job of setting up. It set our expectations kind of weird in the first one, right? We had this kind of sitcom-y kind of a vibe to these serial killers living in this gated community. And one of the things that I absolutely loved was how strikingly violent this one was. It completely circumvented all those expectations. It set us up ready for almost a lighthearted romp, right? Like I knew they were going to be killers, but boy, was this one strikingly violent, strikingly dark, and it was so disarming in that. And it's very rare lately, especially with all the capes and cowls I've been reading, to be so surprised. And I really enjoyed this. I think Kyle Starks is rapidly becoming one of my favorite tongue-in-cheek horror writers. I'm absolutely loving Where Monsters Lie.
I really like it. I really like the density of the artwork, what Peter's actually able to put in there in a silly, kind of lighthearted, fun book. He puts a lot of detail in there, and it never feels cluttered. It still feels very like everything's got its place. It still has a nice composition. So I love the artwork and I love the story because Kyle could have easily just kind of sat in this for a moment, let it kind of slowly build up over the 4 or 5 issues or whatever it is. I think Dark Horse is very favorable over the 4-issue series now. Less commitment to paper, I guess. Their paper's shitty for the most part. But anyway, so less of that, the better. Anyway, Kyle could have done that, but instead he just goes full ham in issue number 2, right? And there may be some slight spoilers for some of these books, but like the police show up and you think that this is going to be like a standoff situation, bro. They start getting got like left and right. I absolutely loved it. Carrie, did you read this one?
I did. I very much enjoyed this. It actually is sitting here with me today at my desk. I say, you know, there's a lot of detail in the art too. Yeah, detailed art. I really love. I love slasher movies. I love those kind of things, and where this thing is just like. I love the comedy. Like where do slashers go home to? Well, they have their own cul-de-sac, you know, somewhere in the middle of a field, and it's and even the interaction with the kid in the first issue with the cop, and the cop is like puzzle man, and the kid's like no, like he kept on saying puzzle man, and he's like puzzle man, really? Like I love the little jokes, the little jabs, the little campiness. It shouldn't be a palate cleanser when you're reading, but it definitely is.
Yeah, that's a really interesting way to put it. Palate cleanser, because it totally is, especially if you read one of those books that's like very verby or very wordy, I should say. And even if it's good or not, right? Sometimes you just want something a little bit lighter, right? But it's fun because the book is incredibly funny, tongue-in-cheek, but it's also incredibly violent. It's like our favorite slasher movies. They're ridiculous, they're fun, they're funny, but they're also gory and just nasty as F. And speaking of nasty AF, Brian, are you reading this one?
You know I am. Yeah, I love Kyle Starks, man. I think I mentioned the last time. Met him at the Memphis Con back in 19 when we went back then.
Yeah, way back in 19.
Yeah, way back. But he had that Assassination Nation. I picked that up from him, which I don't know if you all have read, but I highly recommend that one. But I feel like he's been leveling up since then, and that Assassination Nation is great, man. But it's just like he's getting better. I mean, he's got I know he's developed a pretty good relationship with Kurt Schweitzer, and all these things. Like so he's getting I think he's getting a lot of good feedback.
Hold on, you can't mention these two cats together, Kyle and Chris. You can't mention them together without me taking the opportunity to shill for a Dynamite book. So they did a Mars Attacks book together. That's one of my favorite Mars Attacks comics ever. Everybody should check it out.
Oh, I missed that one.
Yeah, it's really good.
I'll check that out. Yeah. But yeah, it's funny, you're all talking about violence. I saw Ichi the Killer this weekend, and I'm probably permanently desensitized to violence for the rest of my life, man. I mean, I'm just kidding. No, the violence in this was great, man. I was not expecting it either. It just, it was a real joy to read this week or this month. Yeah.
Absolutely. Speaking of joy, Nick, it's always a joy to have you here. Why don't you tell us what you thought about this one?
Dude, I loved issue number 1. Issue number 2 was just so much. It was so different because I tried to figure out like, okay, are they going to use this same level of humor all the time in this next issue? We have a big standoff coming. Like, how are they going to approach this? Because it was so fun, like watching that HOA meeting happen in that little granny's like living room. It was so fun to watch that. And I'm like, okay, things are going to get real violent real soon. And I love the way that they took a moment to kind of focus on each of the killers. We had like that girl with the little doll, and she was talking to the little boy in the back seat of the car. And each little villain had their own moment to shine and to showcase what they're good at, right? And so I thought that was cool. And then they used the detective as kind of like the reader introduced into the story. And he had an interesting background. He had a reason to be there. He had like this lifelong motive to get back at this one killer. And I love the ending too. I can't wait to read issue number 3 because it's quite a cliffhanger at the end of this issue. So I dug it, man. It was great.
Absolutely. So that is 2 issues of Where Monsters Lie. 2 times it's been mentioned on the monthly show. So definitely, if you haven't checked it out, I would recommend that you check it out, as well as all the fine panelists on this panel would also recommend it. Carrie, what about you? It's time. The pressure is on. What is the pick of the month?
Okay, so this book was not only my pick of the month, but it's also my pick of 2022. Not this particular issue, mind you. But I really fell in love with The Human Target. And
gotta scratch that off now.
What can you say about The Human Target except for the fact that It really it wasn't, except for the issue where, you know, he's punching out Guy Gardner and he like explodes into a million pieces. What can you say about this except for the fact that, yeah, you weren't getting like punches and a lot of action, but it was a thinker. This book continuously lived rent free in my head. Like, for me, if something lives rent free in my head past like 10 minutes after I'm done reading it, like that's noteworthy to me. And in particular, this whole story, like I was thinking about it today. I was like, what does this remind me of? Like, what can I say about this entire story, not just this issue, that is compelling enough to get somebody to go out and read this stuff, because it's beautiful. And I thought about it because I have theater training. And I was thinking about how a lot of people, and maybe even people in the panel, if you think back to high school, you were probably forced to read Our Town by Thornton Wilder. And there's this part where one of the main characters has died. And you see her as a ghost in the cemetery, and she gets to go and relive just any day in her life. And she goes back, and everybody in her family is just moving around, and nobody's taking any time for each other. And she gets so frustrated, and she's like, stop, you know, it all goes so fast. We don't have time to look at one another. Do human beings ever realize life while they live it? And that, I think, is kind of the epitome of this, not only this issue, because right out the gate, he's dead, right? So right out the gate, spoiler alert, he's dead. And, but the thing is like, it's built up to this place where it was like, what is the last thing he could have made this impact on? And he made this impact in particular on Ice. And Ice, throughout the last days of his life, made this huge impact on him. And it was something that throughout his life, he was always risking his life. And then all of a sudden you have this moment, this person that finally made him afraid to die. And it just was so much.
That's an absolute beautiful way to describe that book, to be honest. Because all I was going to be was like, yeah, you know how we'd like to shit on Tom King sometimes around here, talk about his structure or whatnot. But no, that was a very elegant way of saying that. And you really captured the way I feel about that. Greg Smallwood's artwork is so brilliant throughout the whole thing. It's kind of got that 50s, 60s kind of aesthetic to it. It's airy, it's light. And the book is heavy, but it's also kind of got that airy and light flavor to the story too, right?
Yeah.
Where it's not taking itself so seriously all the time, but by the end of it, it really hits strong. Like, I thought that finale was amazing. You know, when this book first starts, I'm reading it and I'm like, I love the artwork, but okay, yeah, he's got 12 days to die. It's 12 issues. Each day is going to be an issue. Yay, Tom King, you're so clever. I get the structure. As it goes on, I start getting more and more. You were talking about the impact that he had on, like, that Ice had on him. Ice had an impact on me. I'll tell you what, I started crushing so hard on Ice in this book. It's so sultry and sensual and sexy. And then I just get so immersed into their relationship and the story that it winds into, it becomes this, even though it's about murder and death and mystery and lies, it turns out to be a rather sweet relationship that they have, and a very lasting impact on Ice. And that final issue really took time to allow that to kind of sink in. And I thought that was absolutely fantastic.
And I loved how she was like, you set out in these days to kill the person that killed you. And, you know, and how it ends up being like, no, he recognizes that this wasn't your fault. This was all Lex Luthor, and how that develops right at the end, and how that finishes it off wonderfully.
Yeah, all the blame goes to Luthor. Speaking of all the blame, Brian.
Heck yeah.
Blamey Brian. Did you read this one? You read through this one, right?
I stopped at issue 6.
Yep. Jerk.
And I do plan on getting the trade. You know, the past couple of shows I've been on this, everybody brings it up, and so I do feel like I'm missing out. but yeah, I'll get the volume 2 trade. And but yeah, I mean, I love Greg Smallwood's art, and I couldn't even tell you why I dropped it. I think I read issue 6 and just kind of like I'm not in this one.
You probably read issue 6 and then it went on a little sabbatical.
Oh,
and then it took a few months to get back. I know that sometimes people drop out of books like that. So
yeah, and then they had that like Tales of the Human Target one shot that was kind of meaningless. Yeah, I forgot about that. Money grabbing freaking AC. Speaking of money grabbing, Nick, I know you're a big fan of this one, man.
I loved it. I can't. You all eloquently put it so perfectly already. So it's like I was so happy that they didn't back out of the original promise of this book, because we were introduced to the whole problem of, hey, I got 12 days to live, right? And so immediately I thought, oh man, don't drag me down this path. And then on the 12th day, you figure it out, and then you can cheat death in a way, and you know what I mean. So he didn't take that direction with it, which I kind of applaud him for doing. Every single issue built on like the seriousness of the relationship. Hell, I didn't even care about like Booster Gold's time travel ability and like gathering the ingredients and who was really to blame. Like all that was in the background, and their relationship was in the foreground. And I thought that was absolutely beautiful. I liked all the arguments they had. They all felt like real and necessary to like progress that relationship forward. It was a beautiful book. I loved it so much. The art was gorgeous, as we've already said. It was amazing, and I love the way it ended too. Even the last few pages, it was like, not only did we pay off the relationship and the fact that it was building so beautifully this whole time, but we paid off the Lex moment as well. So I won't spoil exactly what happened, but I just loved it. It was great pick.
Yeah, and yeah, we do roll some spoilers around here on the monthly show, so everybody be warned. Yeah, maybe we should put a banner up or something.
Put the ticker.
Yeah, the ticker. Yeah.
Seriously, it doesn't take away from the book at all. Like knowing anything about what happened, it's the stuff, the action that happens, sure, but it's about like even that one issue that he's worried that Batman's following him. It's not about Batman. It's about being afraid of the darkness of dying, and it's a metaphor.
It's also about just being afraid of Batman 24/7. You live in the DC universe, right? And you're just like, is Batman next to me? Is he going to come out at me? Speaking of creeping in the shadows and coming out of nowhere, it's monthly, Manny. What do you think? Any thoughts on Human Target? Were you reading this book?
Yes, I have a lot of thoughts about wanting to read Human Target. I have not read it yet. So,
all right. Well, if this show teaches you one thing, it's to at least lie. And just be like, yeah, I read it. It was great. What you guys said.
Oh, Greg's not here. One of us has to have not read anything.
Right. That's right.
Oh, God.
All right, Brian. Now it's on you. What's the pick of the month going to be? And I'm worried it's going to be one of mine. So you better choose carefully. Choose wisely.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. It could. No, actually, this one was hard this month. Because Manny, I think you said like first 2 weeks, wasn't sure. It was all light pickups, and there was some good books in there, but then when I was sitting down this week, I was like, man, there's actually a lot of really good stuff here. It was really hard to kind of rank them. So I'm not sure, I'm going to go with this as my best of, but I'm not sure, but Spy Superb by Matt Kent. This is the finale for this. It is set up to keep going in a way, but man, Matt Kent is just an amazing storyteller, and this is his genre too. This spy thing, his breakout hit was at Mind Management, and before that he had Super Spy, which recently, by the way, was redone in a big, nice hardcover that you can pick up from him. But yeah, this is a 3-issue series. Each one's oversized, and it kind of follows the adventures of these. Kind of the main character, the Spy Superb, is it's like he's the Dunning-Kruger thing. He's a guy that like has an exorbitant amount of confidence in himself with no real ability. He fancies himself this insanely great writer, but it's clearly awful and everything. And it's kind of they tag him to be the Spy Superb, so they rope him into these crazy things, and then they bring in this real spy, and And I love their interaction. I mean, she's like trying to level with him the whole time, and he still can't see it. You know, I don't know. Their conversations just crack me up. And he's really good at, you know, drawing in like gadgets, you know, and everything like that. I don't know. And then each one had a little backstory kind of thing in there too. So a little bit of extras and everything. But yeah, I don't know. I love Matt Kent, and this one's a pretty good example of why.
Yeah, and because he's also illustrating it, right? You know, and,
Yeah.
and that's something that I like. You know, it's not going to be a style that's going to be to everybody's taste, but definitely to my taste. I loved Mind Management, even though I haven't finished it, Brian.
Yeah,
I get
I
that.
understand.
But I do like Matt Kent's work. He had a couple things wrap up this month, including Berserker. Did he?
Yes, Berserker.
Not yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
say it yet.
Berserker. Yeah,
Um,
Berserker. Did
Oh,
say
you're
that.
referencing a movie, aren't you?
I thought somebody said making fuck back there, but it was just the peanut gallery. But I liked Spy Superb. I like this dude's idea of himself.
Yeah.
And even when he's basically told, no, you're a patsy, he's like, surely not.
Yeah.
Like he's still
he cannot see it.
He
He
just
cannot see
can't,
it.
man.
It's amazing.
I'm not going to call names. I'm going to name names. I'm not going to name names, but I know plenty of people in my life like this, like Nick from Comic Culture. So what you thought about Spy Superb?
I thought it was great. I think we're talking about like his willful blindness, right? Like he refuses to admit that he's not the Spy Superb. Like he's so narcissistic, wrapped up in his own world. He's like painting this whole reality over the actual reality to like fit inside the story. And I think it's great. I love the characters he develops as well, like the assassin with like the scissors.
Yeah.
And it's
Rock,
not
paper,
even
scissors.
like right. Yeah, he's got the what was it? The paper stars with like poison needles
Yeah.
on them and things like that. And he's got the scissors that aren't even like functional scissors. They're the halves of scissors that he can throw and stuff. It's like it's just like cute and imaginative. I loved it. I loved it so much. And like you mentioned before, the interaction between him and the assassin that he teams up with, she's flat out telling him, listen, you are not special. You are not this person, but he's just so blind. He can't see it because the whole world revolves around this guy. And he can't imagine a situation, even as grandiose as this, that he's not the center of. And so it was great. I really hope they spin off of this because you said they left it, like you mentioned, they left it kind of open towards the end that like, hey, we got a dynamic duo here. You could be useful in the future. And I really, really hope that they put out another volume.
You know, he's already got that nice deal with the Dark Horse. So what is it? Is it Spy Flux or something like Flux House or something? Flux House.
Flux, yeah.
And so he's doing his own thing, and he does it. He's been doing his own thing for a long time. Him and Jeff Lemire kind of came up together, especially, and worked together a little bit here and there. And now that he's been able to grasp the opportunity that is Keanu Reeves, and who would not grasp onto Keanu Reeves if they had that opportunity? You know what I'm saying?
Everyone
Exactly,
would.
right? But like they already are like planning on doing a lot of stuff with his works, like Mind Management, Bang,
Yes.
other things like that. But when Berserker pops and Keanu's attached to it, there's a bright future for Matt Kent. So
Well, have you guys heard the interview that Keanu Reeves did recently? It's on one of the late night talk shows, and he was there to promote John Wick, which is out tomorrow. He kind of teased that they're looking to possibly do something like live action or whatever for Berserker.
yeah, they like, I think, is it Netflix that's doing it?
Yeah, I
Because
thought
like
Netflix has that
Netflix
one.
has
Yeah.
that first look with Boom,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And they're talking about live action, and they're also talking about doing something animated to go along with it. And I'm like, whoa. Let's just calm down. Just think about one thing. Let's just get it right. Okay. Let's just do it. Let's just get it right.
How about we put both in the same thing?
Some mixed media.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Netflix is ready for that, Carrie. Speaking of not ready for it, Manny's not ready for this. Manny, what'd you think about Spy Superb?
I love Spy Superb. I absolutely love it. I sometimes read books and feel personally attacked. There's a scene in this where they're on a train and they're just like, you're good, you're not great. You think you're good at this, you're not good at this. And I'm like, that is the story of everything I do in life. And it was so it was a very eye-opening moment for me. I absolutely love the writing. Like I said, there's something so endearing about all like the simple mundane conversations and shit that happen. Like there's something so unbelievably relatable. I don't know if it's because I'm a millennial and we tend to be pretty like self-absorbed type people. So I was just like, dude, this is speaking to my soul, speaking to my heart. So definitely, absolutely loving this book. I so hope they continue. I love the backup stories, the little origin stories of the other spies are really good. I thought Rochambeau's last issue was just very that was just as good to read as the actual Spy Superb. So great stuff. Really liking this book.
Somebody is named Rochambeau.
Mm-hmm.
That, you know what that makes me think of? That makes me think of South Park.
I'll Rochambeau you for it.
Yeah.
Jerry, you didn't read Spy Superb, is what I'm gathering.
I did not. But
Well,
yeah.
Now you've got your first homework assignment from the
Spy
monthly
Superb.
review. Yep, Spy
Yes.
Superb. And also, one of the greatest smells of the month was Spy Superb. It's a beautiful smelling comic. It's wonderful. I really, really like it. So
I forgot to mention, you were, when you were talking about the artwork, not being for everybody and everything, but I love that style. But this one's also where his wife is doing the colors, and like she's amazing at watercolor colors.
her name, is it Charlene?
Yeah, Charlene Kent. Top notch product there. So
Going to be a wonderful collected edition too, because Matt Kent cares so much about format and how to use it and utilize it, and which is the same thing. That's redundant. Speaking of redundancy, what else, Brian?
He worked at a bookbinder. Like when he first came out of college, he actually worked at a bookbinder and learned the process of that. So that's why he actually really understands good, solid books. So
Thank you for the spoiler warning graphic, Manny.
Yep.
There we go. Yeah.
There you go.
Speaking of spoiling, let's spoil everybody's awesome picks of the month so far by allowing Nick to tell us his pick of the month.
All right.
You better not pick it, man.
No, I'm not picking that. I'll save that one for you. Like I saved that one for Brian because I knew he was gonna want to go in that direction. Rob, I don't think you're going in this direction. This is Tate Bromble. Do we have Boom Studios issue number 4?
Yeah.
Behold Behemoth, issue number 4. I'm looking to see if you've taken it off your list or not. But
No, you're good.
man,
I don't have to mark that off, but
good.
I thought about it. That's a good book. I really like it.
This issue was spectacular, man. This issue was great. So we had the kind of like the opening shocking issue in issue number 1 where we get introduced to our characters. We don't quite understand this universe yet, this relationship between like monsters and like why they do the things they do. I can't remember if it was issue 2 or 3, but we had this big explainer issue between a detective and one of our main characters, who's just recently lost his brother, kind of like mysterious ways. We had a big explainer issue about the relationship between essentially like a handler and a monster, and it's a combination is like as old as time is kind of how we're perceived to how we perceive this. And there's a relationship between this detective and the deceased brother that we explore in this issue and some of the previous issues. And there's also this little girl who's now possessed in a way with this monster who is kind of on a rampage right now and trying to, I don't know, kind of take her down a path she shouldn't be going down necessarily. And so it's this big battle between this little girl and this monster and the relationship between this older man who's her handler. And it's just a beautiful story about like the sacrifices that he has to make in order to make this relationship work. Her as a little girl trying to like grow up normally and control this like insane power. And also it's about like the exploration between our handler character and this detective. And he's trying to take on all this new information about this new partnership that he's in and everything. It's an absolutely beautiful book. I love it so much. And there's a specific scene in this issue that really kind of cemented my my opinion about this. And basically it's this girl, she's pretty much left alone in the woods while her handler is essentially out taking out these guys that are after her. And she's kind of going back to more simpler times and like singing this like childhood song that she obviously knew as, growing up. And at the same time, you have your panels that are kind of like woven together. This guy is unleashing hell on these mercenaries or whoever that are after the two of them. And it's like that yin and yang, absolutely beautiful. I loved it so much. And like, after I read that, I'm like, yep, this is a great little story. I'll be definitely sad to see it go. The art's spectacular too.
Yeah.
I probably did not do this one justice. It's a very complex story, but there's a lot of nuance to it too. Yeah. Very, very, very cool book. So the whole Behemoth, man, I think by far that was my pick of the month for sure.
That's a really good book. It's about two people thrown together who are both dealing with their trauma in two completely different ways. Like, he's dealing with it on his own, right? He's trying to like kind of do it stoically, like kind of on his own, because she needs him, right? And so she's dealing with it with him. And then in this issue, we start seeing that frustration. And then the idea of like, maybe not everything is what he thinks, and maybe it's more dangerous than he thinks. And then that comes into fruition, right? And that starts developing and boiling over. And the artwork is absolutely amazing. And look what Tate and it's Nick Robles that's doing the art, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Look at what they're able to do in just, was this 3 issues, right?
4. Yeah.
4 issues. But that's so much world building.
It is.
So much character development in just 4 issues. It is an economic book that doesn't sacrifice the gravity of what the story is actually about. Speaking of sacrifice and gravity, Manny does that all the time when he jumps really high. Manny, why don't you tell us? Are you reading this one?
Oh man, so high. I just so high, Robbie. I am absolutely loving
like Minnesota or whatever, right? And like y'all are higher than us, so you jump higher, right? That's how
we're gravity's less up here. And then there's snow, so if you do fall,
it's fine.
Freeze your ass off too. It's I really like it. I love, this is my kind of fantasy books. Like I thought Nick was gonna go Black Cloak or something like that. This is more my speed. It's like it's building this real independent fantasy world that I could really grab onto. Of course, there's the trauma aspect, the depression aspect. There's the idea of the girl having this rage inside of her that she can't control. I think that as someone who suffers from bouts of depression and retreating into fantasy lands all the time in my head to deal with my own neuroses, like I could relate to those aspects of the book. Art is absolutely stunning. In this issue in particular, there's like a scene where the girl like is in the dark and that she like is communing with the behemoth, I'm assuming, in the scene, but it's like it's such a gorgeous and striking image. I think that the interpersonal dynamics between the 2 lead characters is really strong, whether they're in the present time eating cereal or they're in the woods fighting by a campfire. Like these 2 characters have a very, very well written and endear. God, I keep saying endearing, but it's got a quality to it that's very gripping and realistic, and I really enjoyed it. So,
speaking of gripping and realistic, Carrie, are you reading this one?
No, you know what? You guys were talking about the person that doesn't read anything, and how that's usually Greg. Well, that would be me with this one, but I have actually been hearing about this one, and I think my shop is having a sale this weekend, so I might go in and pick them up. But how many issues was it, Nick?
This is number 4.
Number 4? Okay.
Yes.
I think it's totally up your alley, Carrie. Totally up your alley.
So good. So good.
Speaking of up your alley, Brian walked down a short alley last week and found a ghost face about to murder somebody and saved her. That's a slight reference to Scream 6 because Scream, baby. You can't see. It's Ghostface. Anyway, Brian, you reading this one, man? What do you think?
I loved it, man. Both of you described it, perfectly, man. It's a great read. I wasn't tracking this one. I think Robbie, you recommended me this one on, issue 1, and I've been loving the build up and everything, but this issue, this is the penultimate issue, right? I mean, is this?
I think so.
Yeah, because it felt like that. Like it felt like a really good one, right? That that doesn't just sit there and have a bunch of not really a bunch of stuff happen and end with the cliffhanger, so you're ready to read the next one. I mean, this one had the weight that it needed and push the story forward and I really like that. I like your comment, Robbie, on that world building part, man. I that is impressive to do that level of detail in 4 issues like that. I mean, I don't know. I'm really looking forward to the next one on this one. Yeah, it's a great pick.
Yeah. Issue 5's the last one.
Sad. Maybe just for now, maybe they'll bring it back. Maybe they won't, Depends on how the sales are doing. And I don't think they're doing particularly strong for Boom. I think they've been waiting for the next Something is Killing the Children for a long time. In fact, now that Berserker's wrapped up, they're like in panic mode, probably. That's why they're doing some one-shots for Berserker. So
why didn't Grimm take off?
I know they were really banking on Grimm, man. So they were really banking on that one. It didn't quite work, but maybe Dan Waters can pull it off. I don't know.
We'll see. Yeah, that's right. Seasons have teeth.
Yeah, dude, I'm really, really excited for that one.
Best title of the year.
Hell yeah, it could. Yeah. As far as like the actual title, Seasons Have Teeth, and it's more compact than Something is Killing the Children. We only find them when they're dead. It's like we're getting cool titles, but they don't have to be as long anyway.
Yeah,
makes it really hard.
They took all the freaking vowels out of Berserker, so.
Yeah, they did. They were like, we get a short. And there's another book called Berserker, and they were like, well, we can't do that. So.
It wasn't enough that they just put like Keanu Reeves on every cover, that they had to separate themselves even more.
You literally just could have called the book Keanu Reeves and like we would all still bought it, And
Keanu Reeves is in this book.
I bought it twice every issue. So they sold 24 issues to me because I was like, 2 foils? Two foils?
Think about how many people bought that Cyberpunk game because of Keanu Reeves.
Oh, every one of them. Everybody.
Exactly. Almost everyone that bought it. There's there's like 10% of the people are like, I just really like Cyberpunk.
That's my boyfriend. Yeah, he really loves Cyberpunk. So, of course, he got it for Cyberpunk. But I don't think it hurts that Keanu Reeves is in it.
There you go. William Gibson forever. Let's do it. All right. So, he did Neuromancer, right? That was kind of like the official. So like people say that's like the watershed moment in Cyberpunk, right? Is like Neuromancer or whatever. Is that William Gibson?
The watershed moment in Cyberpunk is just William Gibson.
Okay, because he's the guy that did the Alien 3 screenplay, right?
Yes,
that's him.
Okay, I love Alien 3, but I know that he didn't really know. Okay, anyway, we're moving way off topic. All right, so my next book is speaking of Alien. It's Alien. No, I'm just kidding. It's not Alien, but it is a Marvel book. For my pick of the month so far, I'm going Punisher number 10, y'all. Punisher number 10.
You were afraid I was going to pick that?
No, I was afraid you were going to say All Against All. And I was like, you know what? I picked All Against All last time. We'll just go whatever. All Against All. I'll say anybody wants to pick that. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
By the way, Alex messaged me the other day. He's like, I'm going to be in New York for a while. If you want to have, dinner, it's on me. I'm like, bro, New York? This is a hop. Like, yeah, sure. Is there a train to New York? Anyway, let's see if we can make that happen, Brian. Let's get to New York in the next couple of weeks.
I would love it. I would love it. But yeah, it's not close.
It's not. He knows that too. He's like, if you fancy a long drive, I'll buy dinner. I'm like, well, you buy gas and dinner? Anyway, so Alex is a good friend of the show. However, Punisher. Okay. When this whole Punisher run started, and the idea of Punisher is joining the Hand, not only is he going to be joining the Hand, he's going to be the leader of the Hand. Not only is he going to become the leader of the Hand, he is actually the prophesized beast reincarnate of the Hand. He is going to cleanse all evil from the earth and bring about a new reign of authority and control and power. This sounds so stupid. It sounds like another thing they do with Frank Castle when they don't know what to do. Let's make him a Frankenstein monster, right? Let's make him the Sponisher. I don't know. They do the weirdest things with Frank Castle sometimes. This seemed like it would be another one of those. It's not. I will dare to say 10 issues in. This is my favorite run on Punisher so far. And if they land this ending, if they stick this ending, right? If they
stick the landing,
if they stick the landing and nail this ending, this is going to be one of the most significant Punisher runs in history. And I got all these people, and I get it every time. And like this week, it was the pick of the week. And I knew I was going to get some comments of people, and I wanted to address this. Punisher's not really using guns. I get you. Okay. He does still, though, use guns in this run. And when he does, it's a major deal. Why?
Does it really matter how somebody's killing someone? He's killing them. Just, come on. Why can't we have nice things?
Well, and exactly. Like, for instance, some of my favorite Punisher stuff before this is the Garth Ennis stuff, right? Mm-hmm. One of the things I like about the Garth Ennis run is how creative Frank is in the ways that he likes to kill people. So he doesn't just limit himself to guns, but obviously we like to see that. Okay, that's fine. They changed the symbol. Okay, I get it. I understand that. Like, the new symbol doesn't look near as cool, but that's fine. It is what it is. This is the most violent, brutal, and honest Punisher book I've ever read. It's done the most to elaborate on not just the character of Frank Castle, not just the character of Maria Castle, his wife, because they brought her back. That's how they get Frank to join the Hand, is they're able to resurrect his wife. So it's elaborating her character, but through that, it's building more mythology around the Punisher than we've ever gotten since Derek Robertson and Garth Ennis on Punisher Born, where it's basically the whole statement of that book is that Frank becomes the Punisher in Vietnam, right? He already is the Punisher there. This takes it back further, and it shows how that affects his relationship with his wife, but not in like a very cliche, boring Showtime late night movie kind of way, like in a real way. The artwork is amazing. Anybody who claims this book is too soft or too Disney-fied or anything like that, this issue has an entire spread of body parts flying out of an airplane. Punisher is killing people left and right in some of the most brutal ways. It doesn't have to lean into humor like Garth Ennis did, right? And it doesn't have to get super, super dark in an edgy type way. This book is fucking awesome. The Punisher is Marvel's best book. It is one of the best comics on shelves, period. It's one of the best Punisher runs ever so far. We'll see. But Jason Aaron's killing it. And he's already got an exceptional run on Punisher. He didn't have to return to this character, especially during a time where writing a good book with Frank Castle in it's kind of almost controversial to some people, right? Mm-hmm. He is killing it. My bad. He's slaying it. He is cutting the whole goal, the whole objective. He's slicing it, limbs flying, bloody, and Jesus Saez and Paul, what is it, Brian?
Azeketa.
It's the hard thing. Azeketa. The artwork is amazing. Two completely different styles, but structured in a way that really elevates it. Holy cow. You reading this one, Manny?
Absolutely. This is a great book. I've said it before. I love that. It seemed they are transitioning more into more Frank, but still Frank's almost like a silent fucking like force of nature in this book that is referenced by Maria in The Priestess and Ares. Like, everyone is looking for ways to wield Frank Castle. You either are taking all right. I read into shit. I know. People make fun of me for it. I get it. But here's the deal. Ares understood what the Punisher was as a weapon of war, right? And the Priestess wants to turn it into a weapon for a very specific like purpose, like not just for war, but for some sort of grander, fucking philosophical purpose of like the Hand's philosophy. And Maria wants to turn him into a husband. If we look at our relationship to guns as a people, we try to utilize them in those same exact ways. We use them as weapons of war, like Ares wants to use Frank as. We use them as means to carry out our own philosophical and theological ends. And oftentimes there's a subset of the society that treats them like they're cuddly shit that you should just have in your house, right? Like, there is something being said in this book about guns. Robbie touched on it. Who uses guns in this book? Most of the time it's Ares's goons, and then it's the people he is killing. The people that are coming after him have guns, and he has used them. It's the most impactfully when he kills Ares, or when he attacks. Shit, spoilers. It's in the corner when he fights Ares. So like I feel like guns are a big part of this book, whether or not you, if you can't see past your own, I want him to use them, then you're missing the fucking point. And I think that's your problem with your current relationship with guns. You're missing the fucking point. So anyway, this is great. I love the other guy, the guy that does the flashback art. I love that. Like kind of
Paul Azeketa.
Yeah. As a kid, it's fucking vowels. I keep telling Taki this. Vowels. More vowels in the name, the better the art. I love it. The other stuff I feel like is too Photoshop painted. It's like too smooth, but it looks great, but it's really smooth. But anyway, that being said, fuck, I love this book. Love it.
Carrie, you reading this one?
I read the first one in this series, and for some reason, I did not carry on. And I'm just wondering if I read like synopsises of like, can I jump in at 10 because y'all are selling me?
You should read the whole thing
You
because
read the whole thing.
it's a build up to 10.
Yeah.
Okay, because I read the first one and I liked it. It wasn't that I didn't like it. Like, I like the Punisher. And the thing is I see the Punisher as something more than what he's been in like some part of pop culture the last few years. And I catch heat for that sometimes in circles, you know, but it's just like Frank Castle is a symbol for things, and there's certain people I don't think get the symbol, and it's hard with that, but like I have to agree completely with what Manny was saying about the relationship our society has on different levels with firearms and how it applies to just the Punisher in general. You know, there's different rules and different reasons and different seasons for all of that. And yeah, I'm missing out. I think I'm definitely missing out on this one.
Yeah, I think I think you'd like it. I really, really do. Like, it may take it. It actually took a couple issues to kind of get really going. Like, and you're like, this is going to be fine. This is fine. This is going to be a nice little moment. You know, you remember when Frank Castle was part of the Hand? Yeah, that was cool. But this is actually doing something so much more significant to that character for me, and it goes beyond just
lasting. I didn't see it lasting with him being part of the Hand that long. You know, I didn't see that being
every issue.
You know.
It feels like it's well, this is it. This is where this is where it's over, and then it just keeps building. And he knows that they're trying to play him. You know, the woman that put him in charge. He knows she's trying to play him, but he's
just liking the benefits.
Yeah, but so he's using the, like in this one, he decides, because Maria's like, don't come back till you're done, right? Like, don't come back until you are done. And then so he's like, okay, I'm going to finish. And he starts like on a spree of like every major. Oh my God, it's so good. It's like a warpath of destruction across the planet. And you're getting these snippets of the news reporting it and these big images of it happening. And then this revelation that Maria knew more about Frank's journey into becoming the Punisher before she was killed, right? And there's so much there. And oh my goodness.
How does that work out though? Because the thing is from what I did see with this issue is that there's flashbacks that show different things that he was doing while she was still alive. You know, things that showed him going on this path that, you know, were already there.
Yes. And seeing the flashbacks of the discovery of it, and not just, you would think that she would just be revolted, shocked, scared, fearful, right? But she's conflicted about the way she feels about it, because it's also kind of hot, right? It's also kind of like, this is the real man. This is who I fell in love with. This is the protector. This is the dude who will do anything. But like, it is, I don't know, man. And I could be wrong, you know, but in my perspective, I think this is just such a fascinating look into Frank Castle. And
what's going to happen if she's sitting there and she's like, you know, don't come back until you're done. A man like that's never really done.
That's true, but I think she's pointing out to Frank almost that it will never be done until you say it's done and choose for it to be done. Which he actually does in this issue. Spoilers. In this issue at the end, he says, they're like, all right, master, so we're going to the next target. And he goes, no, we are done. and he breaks the blade. And that's setting up some major shit that's about to unravel. And I don't know how long this story is planned for, but it's that significant to me. Brian, are you reading it?
No, I haven't been reading it. I don't think I've ever read The Punisher as an ongoing series. I've gone back and read some of the Garth Ennis stuff and really liked it. And it's just never been one of my favorite characters, but I mean, you got me sold on it. I'm going to pick up the trades and everything. And you definitely had me sold when you said Ares is in it. And if he dies, I mean, that poor guy, I mean, that's
Ares
still one of my...
Ares shows up to basically be like, Frank, why are you letting the hand take my greatest disciple? My greatest avatar on Earth.
Right.
Like, you belong here. And dude, that's when he brings the gun back in. Right?
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And he has a special, like, he uses, like, anybody who goes, you know, the no guns, no symbol, they're not reading the book. I just don't think you're reading the book. You know, not to assume anything on anybody, but I just don't think you're reading the book, because they even address the symbol in this, and they're like, oh, sales are skyrocketing on bootleg sales of his new symbol. It doesn't matter what the symbol is. It's what that represents. And what it does represent is there is this desire in all of us to see people be punished. Whether it's people that rightfully deserve so, or people that wronged us personally. It's like the best Punisher movie or thing ever put on film had Thomas Jane in it, and it wasn't a movie. It was a short film that somebody made called Dirty Laundry, right? Where Punisher's just trying to do some laundry, and he sees something going on the street, and he's trying to ignore it, but he can't. And he goes out there, and when he finally takes over the dude, he's pouring his whiskey on him. He's about to burn this dude alive. And he goes, do you know the difference between justice and punishment? There's a difference, and there's something inside of all of us that we have to admit it sometimes. Not saying that we let it all come out, but if we don't, we might wind up like Frank Castle. Speaking of winding up like Frank Castle, Nick, what do you think about this book?
Yeah, it's definitely, I would say I agree. It's definitely the best Marvel book I think out right now, and it's my favorite Punisher run. Although I haven't read everything, it's everything that you've all said, and more in here. And I love the slow build up. So Carrie, you asked if you can kind of just jump in. Absolutely not. And Robbie touched on some of the reasons why. It's like you have to enjoy every single issue, and you have to understand how they stack on top of each other, and you have to see the game that Frank is playing with the what is it, like the high priestess, whatever the girl's name is, who's like manipulating Frank and trying to make him ascend to this next level. They're playing a game against each other, and they're using each other for their own means. And it's like, does Frank know exactly if he pushes himself far enough, he's going to turn into something that he can't pull back from? But at the same time, it's like, okay, if he can just use the resources that the hand has given him, he can like fulfill his role too and become powerful enough to break away from the chains that he's bound around, right? So it's like, okay, I can get my family back. I can get powerful enough to break this bond. But the more he pushes it, the more the deeper he gets into this like poison that he's in, right? So it's like, it's awesome. It's just like a great tale of those two people like at odds with each other, really. And we also get some hints at like, you know, if the Punisher's going around doing all this stuff, and not to spoil the ending of this issue, the Punisher is going to get on a lot of people's radar doing what he's doing, because his efforts are worldwide at this point. And so it's going to go in some very cool places, and it's been very slowly, very subtly building in that direction. And we get the hint of where it's going to go in the last couple of pages in this issue. And I'm super excited for that. We get a time with Daredevil as well. And Daredevil, you know, the first couple of issues doesn't really directly tie to it. They're leading in that direction, but the last couple of issues have been like direct battles and things like that. So if you want to read something that's related to it, you can read Daredevil as well, if you guys haven't been reading that. But yeah, everything you guys said and more, Punisher is one of the best Marvel books out there right now. Maybe even the top 5 comic out right now.
I will definitely spoil this. Okay. So we mentioned that at the end, he's like, you know what? I'm done. He's going to choose to be done, to like go back to his wife, because he's made the decision now, finally, after decades, right? I am going to choose Maria over this mission that's never going to end, because it's more than a mission. It's an obsession. It's who they reveal in his past that he goes to prison executions as a witness just to watch.
Mhm.
He's obsessed with this idea, right? And it all builds up to the point where he breaks the sword. And when he does that, and by the way, Frank goes Super Saiyan in this issue. He's like, he starts floating up, eyes turning red, and people are just like, oh no. Oh no. This is bad. And then that last page is the Avengers show up. And they're like, Frank, we got to talk. Oh man, that's going to be pretty massive. That's going to be pretty big. So
So what you're saying is he goes all Goku on everyone.
it was more like Super Saiyan Vegeta over the Super Saiyan.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know, good point. Good point. It would be more like Vegeta. Yeah.
Yeah. Kakarot. Anyway. All right. Manny. We've gone through our picks of the month. We've had DC and Marvel more than ever. I can't believe it. Nobody's mentioned Dennis Camp. Nobody's mentioned Alex Packnadell. Nobody's mentioned Rom V, Jeff Lemire. Holy cow, what's going on here? Interesting month.
Well,
It's coming.
you took my Marvel. I'm trying to balance things more. Like, all right, I'm gonna try to pick a Marvel, try to pick a DC. I was like, fuck, Christopher Priest got a couple DC books out. Someone's gonna give some love to DC. Maybe I'll skip that. But then I'm like, Punisher. It'll be Punisher. And then you took it. So now I'm like, now I'm kind of screwed. I don't know what I'm gonna pick for Marvel. So I'm just gonna go with another surprise for me, because I think that it's well documented how much I hate Cullen Bunn. But he's got a book out called
By the
Red
way,
Zone.
Cullen Bunn has got a new book out on Kickstarter right now available. It's a Reanimator book, and there's an
So good.
exclusive cover
I
with
was gonna
Rockin Robbie
transition.
on it. So everybody should check that out. So I'm sorry. Go ahead, Manny, and continue on for us, please.
I was gonna transition to it. But Cullen Bunn does have he has actually two really good books out this month. Red Zone, which I think is like surprised the hell out of me. Red Zone, I did not know what that book was gonna be about. I was like, I'm scraping the bottom of the freaking barrel to review something. I'm like, what am I gonna review? All right, I'll read a Cullen Bunn book. And it was so good. It's this really cool. It's like Cullen Bunn's crafted his own Robert Langdon type professor or little character who's going on this extraction mission to Moscow, and he's got these like stereotypical special operators for the military with him. He's gonna extract this woman he has a past with. You're like, I've seen this film. I know where this goes. And then, no, you don't. It just completely goes to shit. And then you're like, all right, I've seen a variation of this film. I know where it goes. And then there's a secret bunker full of weapons. And you're just like, what the hell did I just read? Cullen, oh my goodness. Stop while you're ahead. It's so cool. Because normally I get the solicit for a Cullen Bunn book. And I'm like, all right, that's a cool concept. He's not going to execute it well. I got this. I look at this book and I'm like, this is a mediocre concept. And then he executes the hell out of it. This was really fun. I liked this book. Cullen, if you're watching, I bought your Reanimator book because Robbie's on the cover, and Door to Door, Night by Night. Very good. You're batting pretty well right now. But anyway, Cullen, this was a good book. Do more of this. Do more mundane, well executed than high concept, poorly executed. And I'm going to continue to love your shit.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of loving, no, that's a bad transition. Carrie, are you reading Red Zone?
I'm not reading this, but I have to say, like, you hear a lot of people complaining about tropes and just randomly complaining about tropes. And which I have to say, tropes are for a reason. And a well-executed trope is, a well-executed trope. It means that it's a sure deal. It's a sure thing. That's why they exist. So, yeah.
Dude, absolutely. I often refer to those as scrambled eggs books or French toast books. We've all had them. Some people can make them really well and some people fail miserably, but you'll never forget really good French toast or really good scrambled eggs or even over hard eggs. Brian, Are you reading Red Zone?
I figured that was coming. No, I haven't been picking that one up. I actually completely missed that one. I didn't realize that was out. But yeah, I I haven't read a whole bunch of Colin Bunn stuff because I don't know. I remember I want to say he did like Moon Knight after Warren Ellis, and didn't really care for that. But I did meet him at Memphis last year, and picked up Harrow County from him. I don't know if you all read that one, but that's really good, man. And you can get the complete run. I think it's like 30 issues. You can get them in 2 omnibuses, everything like that. And I really liked it. And I am reading that Door to Door, and I do like that one a lot too. Yeah. So yeah, I'm looking forward to reading more of his stuff though. So yeah.
He's actually very good and a very, very well-known and prolific writer. I just really like being a dick to Cullen Bunn. Speaking of guys I love being a dick to for no apparent reason, Dollar Bin McConaughey, are you reading this book?
I am reading this book, and it was great. First off, Colin Bunn is hilarious. I met him at the con as well over in Memphis. Super nice guy. Very, very generous. Very, very generous guy. He's got so many cool ideas. Like you look at all the books he puts out. He puts out so many books. I don't know if there's another writer out there who has as many like ongoing books as that guy does, or just, as soon as one's over, he's got 2 more popping out the next month. It's insane the amount of work he's putting in right now. And his concepts are usually interesting on paper. This one, the execution was awesome. I love this one. This is probably my favorite #1 Colin Bunn book I've ever read. It was just so good. Like you said, it's like tons and tons of familiar things that we've seen before, but like they're blended together so well. And the execution was nuts. And like, I didn't see any of it coming, even though it all seemed familiar at the same time. So like, he did a really cool job, man. He did a really good job. Your reference to like Da Vinci Code was spot on right there. And that's exactly how I felt when I was reading that book. And then, like you said, when that little bunker opens up and all those guns pop out, it's like, where was this guy in the beginning of the book, man? I cannot wait to see like where this goes from here. It was like action packed, man. It was pretty cool.
I love it. Cullen's got such a high output of work because, like you said, all those great ideas fueled by cocaine. Cocaine's super expensive. Speaking of expensive tastes, Robbie, are you reading Red Zone?
I read the first issue and it didn't really stick with me. I can't even really remember what it was about. I just remember mostly trying to be like, okay, Mike Deodato, who is this actor supposed to be? I remember that, right? So it didn't really stick with me, but what did stick with me was this Reanimator, World of Cthulhu, The Eternal Lie, Part 2, available by Cullen Bunn, Blackie Shepherd, Dynamite Comics on Kickstarter right now. You got like 15 days left, and you can get the exclusive Rockin Robbie cover, and I'm going to throw that link in the description below. So everybody should definitely support me and Cullen Bunn. We're friends. I didn't even really meet him at Memphis, to be honest with you. Like I was talking to him just a little bit when we were both at this like booth that had this guy that had a bunch of horror toys and shit. And then we were talking with Liana. She's like, yeah, I'm drawing this for Cullen. I was like, oh, he seems like a cool guy. She's like, yeah, he's great. And I was like, yeah, I need to go say what's up. And I just would rather sit with James O'Barr and bitch about modern comic digital art. And that's what I did with most of my time. Anyway, so not most of my time. Anyway, we're moving on.
Well, that succubus that Liana drew for him was dope.
Yeah, it was actually.
It was really cool.
Yeah, it was good. That was everybody talked about that, right, Manny?
Mm-hmm.
Good pick. He had some really great like segues,
Yeah, I got to step up my game now. Speaking of segues, here's a segue to Carrie. Carrie, what's another book you want to talk about?
Guys, so here's the deal. I would not be me if I didn't get all of y'all to talk about Harley Quinn. This was the final book in the run for Stephanie Phillips. And I have to mention this because Harley Quinn is my absolute favorite character. Ever since I was a little girl watching Batman the Animated Series, I have loved Harley. And one of the things that is kind of weird about Harley Quinn is depending on who's writing her, she can come off as ditzy. And the problem is, and this is even the man that created her. Like even Paul Dini can write a Harley Quinn story where she seems ditzy. All the way back to 1999 when she made her debut in Continuity. That was where they, perpetuated that stereotype that she slept her way to her PhD. And it wasn't until recently that they were really getting out of that. And part of the blame for them getting out of that is Stephanie Phillips in the way she wrote Harley Quinn. Had some shaky moments with that art in the first half of the run. Was not really a fan of Riley Rossmo's art, particularly for that story. Now, with the right story, that's some cool art, whatever. But I didn't feel right for Harley Quinn. But because of the way Stephanie Phillips was writing her, I kept going. And the reason why it appealed to me so much is that she wrote Harley like Harley was her best friend. Like she loved Harley Quinn. And I, as a fan, as much of a fan as I am of Harley, I really appreciated that. And this issue was her last issue writing Harley. And basically what we've had was a multi-universal situation where the Harley Who Laughs, which first came up on a cover back in the Batman Who Laughs series. I think it was Matteo Scalera. No, was it Matteo Scalera? I'm probably wrong. But it was a variant cover that somebody did for the Batman Who Laughs. I think it was number 7 because I have it, where it was the Harley Who Laughs. And so she ends up in this.
Francesco Mattina is who it was.
Mattina. He did that cover, and now all of a sudden she ends up in the Harley Quinn issue, where she is the Harley Who Laughs is going to each universe, each parallel universe, and killing each Harley Quinn, like this whole Highlander thing. There can only be one kind of thing. And so the way that they address the situation is they somehow get all the Harleys from all the different universes. They end up in Prime Harley's universe, and they all go off and they're running around doing their own thing. But Harley has the help of Old Lady Harley. And if you've never read the Old Lady Harley story, I can recommend that. I love it. It's funny. It's great. But near the beginning of this issue, it was like, Harley looks at the Harley Who Laughs and she's like, you know what? You know what your problem is? Where's your ivy? Where's your poison ivy? And Harley Who Laughs is like, somebody's taken her, and I can't get to her, and everything like that. And you know what? She's like, we're going to help you get your Harley back, or your ivy back. And the issue is literally them going around getting her ivy back. And so now she's happy. And it was like, okay, so as Harley has done, now Harley can kick some ass, all right? We've all seen it, right? But as Harley has done throughout this entire run, she has combated fear and anger with love and hope. And I think we could all use a little bit more of that in this world. And I've really enjoyed this run, and it gave me the feels at the end when basically the writer's saying goodbye. And was like, it's just the end of like a really great run. I am excited to see where Teenie Howard takes it, but Stephanie Phillips wrote Harley like she actually loved her.
Stephanie Phillips is a very solid writer. Like, I really like her as a writer. I don't always, not everything she does resonates with me, but that's the case with most creators, right? Mm-hmm. She was at Heroes Con, and I didn't take the opportunity to go see her. There were many times where I was like, I gotta go see her. Then I went up there, and she was gone, or she was talking to somebody else, and this and that. But I do love her work, especially A Man Among Ye. I really like. I loved her first issue of Cosmic Ghost Rider.
That was
Harley
wonderful.
Was one where, I thought Riley was just the wrong pick on the artist for that book, and I fell out of it, right? But you have definitely sold me on checking it out, because Harley is a character that I used to always be like, I can't stand Harley because they just created her to kind of soften the Joker a little bit, this and that, right? But she has come into her own, and there have been runs where I've really loved Harley. The best being of which the White Knight stuff, like what Sean Murphy
Yes.
and Katana
Yes.
in particular, like that run really worked for me. And also the Joker Harley Criminal Sanity one, I really liked her.
That one was really great. And Harleen, where it kind of started to remove that whole Harley slept her way to her PhD. You know, it started really kind of like, I know it was kind of a Black Label story and everything like that, but it really gave a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? It gave a lot of I'm at a loss for words right now.
Depth,
It, like empowered her a lot. Yeah.
Empowered her.
Mhm.
It gave her legitimacy.
Yeah.
And that legitimacy carried over into this run. The Connor Palamodi run in particular also gave her a lot of legitimacy, and it still had the silliness in both. You know, where yes, Harley Quinn is silly, but she's not dumb.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that like kind of turned me off to like last week we had the multiversity Harley screws up the DCU. And that's one of the things that kind of turned me off about that story, because you literally have a moment where she's in the time machine and there's a sign that says press this button, stupid. And I was like, you know, at that point I was like, yeah, I love the newsprint quality. It's cute, but like right there, it was like, no,
they're
reading my
like
Harley. Like, stop.
It's like there are two different Harleys, right? There's the Deadpool-y Harley, right? Which might be the more ditzy one, right? Like it's like the ditziness sometimes is so obvious, it's almost like she's playing into it, right? It's like, so there's that version of her, and then there's the actual story, right? Where like she's growing, she's becoming her own character, and I really like that. In fact, my favorite thing with Harley over the last few months has been that issue of Poison Ivy, where she comes to visit Behemoth, and I'm like, I love that. And she starts, so they have sex, but then because of everything going on with Poison Ivy, she starts like tripping on these crazy spores and shit, right? And I really like that bit because I like the idea of going psychedelic during sex. It's great. You know what I'm saying?
And then she still busts out the whole like philosophical doctor stuff. You know, like, is it possible that you don't think you can, you know, be better because you don't think you deserve it? You know? Yeah, of course that's the reason.
And I see Billy in there saying it's so brave that DC made Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn lesbians, and I see the name changes. Correct them that they're not lesbians, they're bisexual. We need some bi representation. I think that's cool. I'm all for that. And then the other thing I'll say is that was alluded to very much in the animated series. Very much was it animated. Like it's not something new that they've done. This has been in existence since the animated series. So anybody reading Harley out there?
Yeah.
I was going to ask, how many issues is it? Because this sounds interesting. I want to pick this up.
Stephanie Phillips' run is 27.
Yeah.
And Teenie Howard is going to be taking over next week.
Yeah, I saw that Sweeney Boo's doing the art on that, so I was thinking about picking that one up. Her art is fabulous. She does digital art better than just about anybody.
Yeah, the preview images that I've seen coming out for the Sweeney Boo stuff, I love. In particular, Harley has this best friend named Kevin, who is a former Joker clown. He ended up joining the Joker.
He's the guy with the like the clown face on his chin or something, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yes. He joined the Joker's crew during the whole Joker War saga, and then when that was over and he regretted it, he met up with Harley, and Harley was like, part of the run that was really great was when Harley decided there were other people like Kevin and she had to help them. And she developed this self-help group for former Joker henchmen.
That's cool. That's
So
great.
Nick, you're reading it, right?
Yeah, I spot check it because I'm a big Harley fan as well, and I loved Harleen. That was a great run. Absolutely love that. In fact, I just finished a couple days ago the Harley Quinn Joker Sound Mind on Spotify. It's like a little criminal little drama on there. So if you
You're
check that out,
listening
if
to
you have
comic book
Spotify.
superhero audio dramas, bro.
Hey,
What a fucking nerd, man.
I'm a fan. You know what I mean? I'm a fan.
That's up on some bullshit, Nick. Because I tried to read 13 books last week, and that I was like, where does he find the time? You fucking reviewed 24, and you
Yeah.
had time to listen to a audio podcast.
I got to crank those numbers up. Robbie's killing me here. So yeah,
Bro, I've seen this dude be like on a live chat with us, like, oh yeah, I'm working. Like, really?
Oh yeah,
Are
yeah,
you?
for real? Yeah,
Are
oh
you?
yeah. Hey, beauties are working from home. What can I tell you?
Yeah,
But no,
working from home.
working hard or hardly working, right?
Harley working from home.
Harley working. Yeah, it's good. I you know what? I like the Harley what we saw a lot in like Fear State as well. There's some good moments in there.
Yes.
So that was really cool because she was extremely capable. She was very caring. We knew what she was after and things like that. And she didn't play that ditzy role. I'm totally with you. I don't like the Deadpool Harley. I prefer like a little bit more serious with like a twisted, like there's something going on there, and she's a little bit mental, right? So it's like I like that
a little bit of the
unpredictability.
silliness, but you can be
A little
silly
bit,
and not be
yeah.
dumb. You
Right,
know?
Edgy,
exactly.
though. Like I want, and I don't mean like edgy, like in like a bad way, but like I want her to be. I want Harley to be real. I want her to grow. I want her to have a little bit of that silliness, right? But I also want her to have this element of like chaoticness that like is very scary.
Yeah.
Like I like a Harley, like, yeah, she's cute, she's attractive, she's fun, but she will slit a motherfucker's throat.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, I just like I like it when it shows her as the, I don't want to say threat, but the importance that she has. And the Fear State stuff, really, like I'm a big, you know, cape and cowl kind of gal. Like a lot of my books that I read are superhero books and primarily DC. And I read all the Fear State stuff and I hated most of it. I did.
Yeah.
I did not like it. I think that we were promised something by all these previews and we didn't get it. But the two characters that I absolutely loved in that entire thing were the journeys of Harley and Catwoman. Because how do you combat fear and anger but with love and hope? And those two characters, everything they did was in the name of love and hope. And you know, I could, you know what, they didn't give it, they said they were giving us the Scarecrow story. They didn't give that to us. They did, but they didn't. And it got muddled by the whole magistrate thing. But then you have the side journeys of these two characters where it just built these two characters up in a way that if they ever renege on it, I'm going to be so mad.
Yeah.
If they ever renege on this, I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah.
And it would suck.
Speaking of sucking, Manny, you got any thoughts on Harley Quinn?
I have not read any Harley Quinn, but I did suffer through 6 issues of Tim Drake Robin, and so anytime to shit on Riley Rossmo, I'm fucking
Go
game.
for it. Go for it.
No, I
DC
fucking
just
love
doesn't know where to
Archie.
place Riley, man. That's the problem.
I love Archie comics.
Martian
I
Manhunter
can't
was
wait
good.
to see Archie comics versions of all my fucking favorite DC characters. That's what I'm looking at.
Riley
but
did a good job on Martian Manhunter.
I'll have to look into that one. I'll put
Maybe,
it on
yeah.
the list.
That was the
Putting it
Steve
on the
Orlando
list.
run, right?
Yeah.
Well,
But
that's the kind of book for
Yeah,
Riley, right?
it
Where there's like
fits.
shape shifting and like
Yeah.
quirky, weird stuff. I don't.
Yeah.
Completely fit.
The Archie thing is really fucking dismissive, Manny. You're
You
pissing me
know,
off
no.
right now.
Okay, fine.
Read Green Wake
what
if
the
you want to
fuck?
see
Why is
great
every-
Riley Rossmo artwork. Okay.
Everybody's fucking half sitting down in a Riley fucking Rossmo book. What the hell
Like a
is
foot
that?
soldier? They're like a foot soldier from the the toys when Team.
And DC knows that shit because they let Dan Mora do the covers of Tim Drake Robin. So every time I'm like, oh my gosh, this looks awesome.
Bait and
Then I
switch.
open it And I'm like, am I this stupid? Like, do I just like, because I just spent $4.99 on this book and I gotta review it because I need a return on investment. So now I'm stuck shitting on a book, and I don't like shitting on books unless they're by Cullen fucking Bunn or Tom King. So other than that, but yeah, the premise sounds good. I just haven't, I've never ducked into any Harley Quinn books.
Yeah, everybody needs to check out the Cullen Bunn Reanimator book that's on Kickstarter right now. You can get a Rockin Robbie cover. It's the first time I'm on a cover. So yeah, that's pretty dope. It's me, and I just told him not to make me look too fat. And thank you, Blackie. I really appreciate that. That's pretty awesome. I really like that. That
is dope.
I'm gonna put that when I go to the gym. It's gonna be in front of me. Do I go to the gym right now? No. But when I eventually get back to the gym, that's going to be the image I'm trying to attain.
Baby steps.
Decaying flesh. Thin waistline. All right.
Comic books are part fantasy, Robbie. So
that's right. That's right. Let's make the decaying flesh the part of the fantasy. All right. Oh wow, I made it through a second round with now I can say it. All Against All, number 5. The penultimate issue is my next pick. Alex Packnadell, Casper Wingard, Hassan Onsman El Howe. This is what a comic book looks like when everybody making it gives a shit about comic books. This is what you get. You get All Against All. It's, what can I say that I haven't already said? It's one of the best comics out there. I've already said that. The artwork by Casper is like levels up. The use of color is different than something like Homesick Pilots or even Limbo. And he's got this raw, visceral grit to it that's kind of charcoaly, as Alex said. No, I've already said that before. Alex is really smart. He's intelligently writing this book where it's a little bit about nurture versus nature. It's a little bit of a look at like, okay, this idea that Tarzan would be a good dude because he's a white guy, even if he's raised by wolves or apes or whatever the fuck it is. I'm getting Jungle Book mixed up with Tarzan. I understand. I've already said all that too. What am I supposed to say? I don't know. I'll just say this. All Against All, one out for pick of the week over Agent of World number 4. And y'all know how much I love Agent of World. All Against All. Let me think about this real quick. Depending on the end, might be my favorite work from Alex Packnadell, right? Arcadia is really solid for me. And I love Friendo, of course. But man, where this book is shaping up to go, I love it. Think about, those like in Alien movies or a Predator movie where the Predator's after all these humans, or an alien's like on a ship with somebody, like with a bunch of humans, and imagine it, but the ship is filled with aliens, right? And then the alien is the human, right? And so in this issue, we get that promise delivered. Helpless, who's the name of the human, is just slaughtering people. There is so much, the humanity in the book comes from the aliens. The main science alien, his relationship with his I think it's his daughter, right?
Yeah.
The concepts. Alex is so fucking smart. When me and Brian had him on the show the first time, we were so nervous because we're dumb compared to Alex. You know what I'm saying? He's got a PhD. This dude knows what he's talking about, right? And then like Rom V, who's this homie, he's all like, yeah, I quit being a scientist to be a comic book writer.
I caught that too.
Right? But
I was
Alex
a scientist.
is doing such a great job with this, and he understands literature and narrative and theme and subtext, and he's using it so well, and Casper is leveling up. And I will dare to say this, it is my favorite Hassan Onsman El Howe work. Like the lettering in this is the best I've seen from him, and he just keeps getting better. All Against All is all around a great comic. The worst thing about it is there's only one issue left, and this could definitely be something. Let's keep this team together. I know Dan's ready for Casper back to do another project together, like Limbo or Homesick Pilots, but don't be so greedy, Dan. Let Alex have at Casper for a while, or Casper, just do your own thing and say fuck Alex. I don't know, but Alex is doing good work. He's doing the Lord's work in the comic book world. What do you think, Manny? You're reading All Against All, man. I know you are.
Yes, I am. It's perfect. The way that you set it up. I think like some of the things that work best in Alien and Predator films is the dynamics of the fucking cannon fodder, the way those characters interact with each other, and that we see here. But what's smart about the way Alex is doing it is not just like, It's not giving us memorable "game over, man" lines, right? It's giving us, they are experiencing something profound and life-changing in the habitat that they created to house these things. I think what Alex is setting up is the idea that these little, what the hell are they? They're like squid,
They're like
bug
jellyfishy
things.
things.
Squid
Yeah.
aliens.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they're but for all intents and purposes, they exist to try to better themselves. Like they don't see the power that comes from just being themselves, right? And then you've got Helpless, who the scientists like said, all the other primates, they were all self-sufficient in like months, and these things were so helpless, you know what I mean? And that's its name. And like they're going through this whole fucking journey where they're like jumping into animals, like experiencing like primal feelings that they've kind of denied themselves. I think it's kind of cool. And then he's setting, so aside from the fact that Helpless is cutting sick and killing aliens on a spaceship, which really is like a very small part of the story, the aliens are going through this shit. Like we're seeing the tropes. Carrie talked about tropes, like the importance of tropes. We're seeing that in here with like the general jumping into fucking Optimus Primal. We're seeing freaking we're seeing the scientists kind of experiencing his own creation from the ground level. Like they were seeing all these really, really cool concepts played out. Helpless is like the least important part of the story, but yet is the linchpin holding it together. So yeah, Alex is doing great. And you do the finding out what people did before they made comic books is always an interesting conversation, because we had like Eric Burnham, Ron V, and Canto on the show.
David's his name.
Yeah, David Boer. and Eric's like, yeah, well, I write comic books, and you know that's what I do. And it's like, yeah, Ron was a chemical engineer, and fucking David was like a corporate lawyer until like 10 minutes before he decided to be a spokesman for whatnot. Like all these things that he did. So like,
he's gonna be at MegaCon. I'll tell him you said that.
dude, I love that guy, and he doesn't pay any attention to what I say. I say some mean ass shit, and he's still like.
Speaking of MegaCon,
I mean,
Filio, don't make promises you can't keep, motherfucker. Because I've seen your Instagram profile pic, and dude, don't tempt me, okay? Don't tempt me.
So yeah, it's a great book. I'm really enjoying it, and yeah. Good
Oh yeah, Carrie, you reading this one? It's been pick of the week so many times.
It
Almost
has
every
been.
issue has been pick of the week. So
I almost read it, Robbie. I almost read it.
why did we bring Carrie here? Why did we bring her in?
Because of my personality, my shining personality, and because me being here means I don't get in the chat and argue with people about Tom King, and so.
You can still get in the chat if you want to.
I saw that, Billy.
There's plenty of room.
I saw it. I'm not in the chat to argue with you. But you know what? You know, if an adult screen, star wants to play Poison Ivy and she's got the chops for it, why not? Why the hell not? Anyways. I'm not in the chat. I can't.
All right, you should read All Against All. It's a really good book.
You know what? I almost read it. I'm going to tell you how close I came to reading it. Okay? Because like I was sitting there and I was like, okay, so what are these guys reading? And I want to read some of this shit, right? Excuse me, I swore. Is that okay?
Oh, absolutely.
Amanda's been doing it all. Yeah, it's fine.
So I was like, I want to read some of this stuff. And like totally, I prepared a little bit. Okay? Like y'all haven't brought up Clear yet. I totally read that one. And y'all have I knew it. If I didn't read All Against All, you were gonna bring it up. And I was gonna be like, didn't read it. And
you're really the Greg of the show tonight, Carrie.
Yeah, this is working out great.
I hope this doesn't keep me from being on anymore, because if you gotta I try to comment where I can. But yeah, no, when I say I'm a cape and cow kind of girl, yeah, that's yeah, pretty much.
What if I told you that one of the characters wears a cape and a cow?
Really?
I'm lying, but would that entice you to read it?
It probably would. Yeah, honestly, no. I almost read it, and I saw that digitally on Amazon, like the first 3 issues were only like $1.99. I just didn't get to it.
All right. Well, you got homework again. So All
Yes.
Against All. Because if you want to come back for April, you better have read that one. Because it's All Against All April is what we're doing next week or next month. We're only talking about All Against All. That's all.
Okay, I'll read it. I'll read it then. I'll read
Just
it because
grab
I'm
a
having
couple
fun.
strategic Jeff Lemire books, Carrie. You'll be fine.
Yeah. And
anything
Manny's
for
going to read
Dennis
all
Freeze.
of the Phillips Harley Quinn run.
I like Stephanie Phillips, man. We Only Kill Each Other. Definitely one of my favorite books from last year, as was Clear. So you could see how slow Slim Pickens' March was.
Well, we still got
Clear-
one more week to go, but we're early because I got to go do Jello shots off John Spilios's belly button, and vice versa.
What
Russ, you
flavor?
asked for it. Brian, I know you got some thoughts about All Against All because, first of all, Alex has been on the show, so we got to talk. We got to say good things about his work. Haas apparently loves us, so we got to say nice things about him. And Casper likes almost every Instagram and Facebook post I make, so we got to say nice things, man. That's what we're doing. That's what we're getting paid to do.
Well, good thing that they make it easy, though, right? I mean, because it's actually incredibly solid work. And I agree that, I thought Haas's best work so far was the Above Snakes. But this is better than that, but yeah, absolutely love this. This is going to be my second pick. But took that one. That's fine. I've got a stack here. But yeah, this one, I mentioned it earlier. This is yet another solid penultimate issue. I mean, it's nonstop and a lot of good story development. I feel like he may have borrowed a little Jeff Lemire sad dad energy, with the scientist and the kid, and also the scientist is kind of the dad of Helpless, right? I mean, because that's why Helpless is kind of still there, right? He's like doing that stuff. But I kind of freaked out on this double page thing because of all the various colors and everything, and that part in the ship.
Oh, so good.
Where it's got the opening in there, and then you see Helpless is just that white offset against everything. I mean, that's just, I don't know, just masterclass art right there. It's just so cool. And then the facial expressions as he pops through the thing. I don't know. Yeah, this
Plus,
is
you see Helpless's dick a lot.
That's true. That's a plus.
So like, I totally skipped you and Nick for the second pick.
Totally.
Go straight.
Yeah,
to
you
Geek.
did.
Oh, for
and
sure.
you also said it was issue 5.
It's
So
4.
you had my head spinning, man.
Yeah, it's 4. My bad. Shit. All right. I guess there was something subconsciously. It was like, get it in right now, Robbie. Get it in right now.
Well, you did a good job because I was about to bring it up.
Before
Fuck
we
yeah,
take it.
dude. All
Your
right.
timing was impeccable.
Speaking of impeccable timing, Nick, any thoughts on All Against All?
It's great. I love the dynamic between the scientist and Helpless, and I loved, maybe not. It didn't happen in this issue, but with the scientist hopping from like animal to animal, he's just trying to survive. So he's hopping from like the bird to the alligator to the whatever, the fish and stuff like that. It's extremely creative, and I just can't imagine like storyboarding that and trying to figure that out and having that. It's not even like vital to the story. But what it did do is it explained the race better than like just an info dump page.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We could have gotten just like, hey, this is our race, and this is a bunch of dialogue that shows how we've evolved over time. But no,
Man, this ain't an X-Men book, okay?
no lines, no diagrams, no whatever. Like he took the opportunity to use a very cool, creative way to like explain their race better than narrative dumps could have possibly done it. And so that was just really cool. I love it a lot. And then you talked about it too, just like the reverse roles. I mean, it's our human now in place of the predator or the alien, and our perspective is now from the alien side. So it's cool to see humans represented, right? In that way. And the art it's incredible, man. The art's so good in this book. So yeah, totally agree. Great pick.
All right, Brian, since I came in and stole All Against All from you, what's your next pick?
Well, probably shouldn't be a surprise. I'll go ahead and steal this one. The Agent of World 4.
Okay, I'll allow it.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. We've said a lot about this series, and
Now I'd like 2 eggs over hard.
I should have predicted that. I didn't that time. But yeah, I mean, this has been a great series, from start to finish. I mean, Dennis, I mean, I knew he was going to deliver. It's not like I was, not like I was going to be surprised, but this one, it doesn't end cheery. I mean, it's like and it's got that kind of status quo thing going on. Speaking on that again, because I mean, it's progressing the story of the main character. I can't remember his name right now. And how he deals with his family and maybe some more sad dad energy or mad dad in this case.
Yes,
he goes pretty extreme and everything, but it does introduce a new agent, and it's kind of depressing introduction. You know what I mean? Like it's not happy, but it's got all these really cool Easter eggs in it as he's going through, and everything it's again chock full of Filia Bertuchin detail that you can just stare at. I mean, this issue, I think the first time I read it did take me probably 30 minutes, just because I kept getting distracted and start staring at his art. But yeah, I don't know. This is hit it out of the park again. And I'm looking forward to the trade for this one. So I can, probably take 3 hours to read a 100-page comic book. So.
Yeah. It's interesting because it's not like a firm ending, right?
No.
And Dennis says he wants this book to continue.
Yeah.
Right. And this feels more like a setup for a second arc, right?
Yeah. Well,
and we know that they're probably going to be working on, I don't know with Filia or not, because Filia is incredibly detailed. They've been working on this book for a long time. And I think each issue is so far above what we're getting on comic book shelves, right? Yeah. Like from the writing, the concepts, the characters, all the way down through the art to the lettering, the presentation, everything about this book is so top-notch. It's so unique, so mind-boggling, and it's so rewarding of multiple readings. I am utterly fascinated.
Yeah, it reminds me of that Maxwell's Demons, right? Like, because, that was his first published book, full, like, kind of series or whatever. But, that one bums me out that one's not ongoing, that one. But it's set up similar where it's got the kind of, each issue is it's unique, unique thing, but there are things like keep like piecing together and everything like that. Yeah, it could definitely keep going.
Any thoughts, Nick?
No, I actually read the first, I think 3 issues at this point, but like for some reason the release of it was messing up at the shop, and so it kind of fell out of my normal rotation. I have it though, so it's on my list to read. You guys have said nothing but great things about it. Very confusing book. Like you have to read it. It's a multiple read book to really kind of like grasp everything, and so that might be one reason why it's still on the back stack at the moment. But yeah, it's on the list for sure.
Manny, when first issue came out, I told you that you had to agree to read the first issue 3 times before you reviewed it. You did. Do you have any thoughts on the final issue so far of Agent of World?
I have not finished reading it because this book is so dense in the artwork, and it knows it, and he's fucking with me because like I'm looking at it, and there's literally like as I'm trying to piece together what's happening, like they're like in like the living room, and there's like I'm looking at this lamp and like a table in the foreground. It's not even the important part, and I'm fixated on the lines on the lamp, and I'm like,
yep,
look at this. Who draws this? Your page rate, you must make like 2 cents an hour, because there's no fucking way you had to sit and draw this forever. And then like 2 panels down, they're putting together a puzzle. I'm like, okay, puzzle, all that detail in the lamp. What does the lamp mean? And then the next page is like there's tubes with people, and there's Satan is there for some fucking reason. This book messes with you, bro. All right. At the end of the day, the story has been about, I've said it, I think every month, it's been about family. Like, it's been about, him hiding his family, him seeing what happens to a friend who is also an agent who had a family that wasn't like real. And at the end of the mission had to give that up, and how that affected him. And like, there's all this stuff leading up to where this book is supposed to go. And once I make it past the green tubes from Futurama and Satan page, then I'll be able to tell you what I thought about the rest of the book. But it has a damn good read. Dense in narrative, dense in theming, and super dense in artwork. And it's not
Well, they call him Density Dennis. That's what they called him in high school.
that they called me something similar, but it was a lot more mean and had profanity in it. But yeah, no, it's a really good book, and it does require multiple readings.
Gary, any thoughts on Agent of World?
No.
Damn.
No, density in art, is it kind of like God, what did I read recently that was kind of dense art wise? Was Dark Knight Returns. Is it kind of like dense like that, or
It's no, because that's like, I would say dense in like panels. This is more dense in line work.
It's
And
like
my.
it's like Shaolin Cowboy dance.
yeah, it's like
kind of
Jeff
stuff.
Darrow Mobius mixed
Well,
together.
yeah,
okay?
Can you get
Okay.
closer on the other page there?
This
The
one?
one that looks kind of
No,
like Where's
the-
Waldo?
the triple
Yeah.
panel. Yeah,
The other one.
I can.
there you go.
There you go.
What is that?
It's
So
stuff
it's the-
everywhere.
Yeah, so it's the new agent being introduced to World, and he's going through all the different things, and it's pointing to all the different things in there, and it has, like, I don't know, one of my favorite jokes recently in a comic, but it's basically Batman, but it says remains of elaborate Wayne, detail-oriented detective of Baroque City.
Yeah.
I don't know, just
Wow.
it's great stuff.
It's like
See,
Where's
Futurama.
Waldo? Yeah.
What the hell is this? This is angry ass toenail fungus. We've got Satan here for some reason. We've got a
Oh, yeah.
dinosaur. Like there's so much to look at here.
Is there a freaking gnome in the middle there?
Oh,
Probably.
Yeah, there's are those the two aliens from the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror or something?
Oh,
yeah.
And like, there's
They
so
look
many
like they
ideas
should
too. Dennis is throwing all these ideas out there, and not all of them matter. It's just like any other writer would take and develop a whole series based on any throwaway idea or image in this book.
Mhm.
There's like a huge foot
yeah, angry fungus.
with fungus.
This
Yep.
guy is
Yeah.
delivering fucking Trader Joe's mayonnaise for some reason in the middle of the panel. Like, there's so much to look at.
The
It
one
is
guy's
so
like
interesting.
swimming in the mayonnaise.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? It's crazy.
Oh
Yeah.
my.
That's pretty insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember Dennis sent me images from this comic before the pandemic. I mean, I want to say it was like 2019. And it was just a couple images. There were no word balloons or anything like that. And I'd never seen Filia's work before. I mean, and it was just like, I think it was a double page spread with just like, 30 different characters and just the insanity behind all that. I was just like, oh man, I don't know. Yeah, it's a great comic.
Speaking of insanity, Nick,
Oh,
what's your second pick?
oh man.
And then Manny, carry on for us, please.
We are gonna go with one. I probably brought this book up before on the show. We're gonna go with Mark Russell's Traveling to Mars from Ablaze Comics, issue number 4. I like all these little homage covers too. They're all like classic rips of like Marvel and DC and stuff. So I've been collecting all those, even though I should have been getting the cover A's too. But Travel to Mars is a great story, man. And it's like it's the subtlety of the story that really makes it, because there's no action at all. In fact, this is probably the most action-packed issue there is, and there's only a few panels of like they got to repair their ship or whatever in space. So basically, the premise is it's kind of like in the future. There's limited resources, energy crisis, and things like that. But they find a new resource in Mars, and it's like first come, first serve. Whoever can get there first can claim it, and basically they can solve the worldwide energy crisis and be, the richest company in the world, kind of a thing, right? And so they're trying to figure out all these different ways of like claiming this, and a bunch of these private corporations, these like twisted evil corporations, are sending their own delegates out there. It's like a race to whoever can get there first. And this guy that we're introduced to, this guy right here on the cover, who's traveling to Mars, he's actually has cancer. He's got terminal cancer. He's got a limited amount of months to live. And so they think that he's the perfect candidate because it's essentially a one-way mission. Go there, plant the flag, you're done. You can die essentially, and we'll compensate your family and everything. So like, what do you have to lose, kind of a thing. So they're very manipulative in that sense. But what's really cool about this book is like, it's essentially inner dialogue from this character going about space. And he's kind of like thinking about all the relationships he's had with his ex-wife, with his kids, how he's been raised, like with his family and things like that. And so like it seems like there's really a whole lot going on, and there's not a whole lot going on yet. It's like so intriguing, and I'm just glued to every single page, and it's remarkable. There is some interaction with like home base, and it's very like, I don't know, they set it up for some success, but like it's very, very twisted in how it actually comes through here. Like, hey, we got your ex-wife who you're still in love with, who you were never good enough for. We're going to bring her on this transmission. You're going to be finally be able to connect with her after like decades or whatever it's been. And it's got this moment where it's like building up such hope for this moment, and it's sabotaged by the company in this really sadistic way. And it's like he didn't get to have that moment, and he's got limited time left. So like we had all this build up, and we wanted to get this closure between these characters, and just never really happened. It's a crazy good book. And again, it's a very simple premise, and it doesn't seem like it would work on paper, but like, man, I'm glued to this book. I love it. Mark Russell's doing a hell of a job writing this thing. And like, I can't wait. Every time there's an issue coming out, I usually save it to the end to be like my reward for getting through my books. This book is insanely good. Traveling to Mars, man. Got to check that one out.
Absolutely. Traveling to Mars was great. I love when you're on the show, because then I know when a new issue came out. So then I know I can go ahead and read it. But it is really good. I actually did get to read this one. The stuff happening with Candace is it's not really as like, it's weird because you feel more than like what Roy lets on. There's like one panel where like it happens and he's like holding his hand out, and you're like, oh wow, that's like a really passionate thing to happen from Roy. And then he just kind of goes back to just kind of like dealing with it. He like breaks down, sits down, he thinks about it, but then he kind of just goes back about his business. It's strange. It's like you said, it shouldn't work, but it does. He's very relatable. He's an everyman.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Really, I have to agree. Mark Russell absolutely killing it with Traveling to Mars.
Oh yeah.
Carrie, did you travel far to read Traveling? I know I used all my good transitions. Just did you like
okay.
it?
It's okay. No, I have not read this. So it's kind of like you guys seem to be like just teaching me about stuff this evening. So this is kind of like one of those like some of the things you were saying about it, Nick, was it kind of sounded like the corporation and aliens, just sending people off and not really caring,
Pretty much
what happens to them, except as long as they can, it's a send up of the evils of capitalism kind of thing. Is that kind of what it is?
But yeah, pretty much. Like this is, I forget what they actually call this corporation, but it's a very like,
there's two of them, right? Because like the one who kidnaps Candace is the True Bond Paste Company.
Yeah, right.
And then the one that then like when they capture those guys, isn't it like the beef manufacturers or something?
It is like a beef, like a real shady, you know what I mean? Like, and they're not portrayed as like, they're portrayed very stereotypical as well. So it's like they're like greedy, corporate pigs, you know what I mean? And they're just taking advantage of this one guy's situation, and they bait him in. They're like, it's important for your morale to be high, so like make sure you're doing things to like enhance your mind and your body, and we're going to get your wife on next week, so stay positive for that. And then like they never do, you know what I mean? Like it's a bait and switch kind of. They're very manipulative, and like he's realizing that. He's got two robot companions with him too that like don't have any signs of humanity with them, but there's something there to entertain him, and he's like trying to do the best he can do with them, like watching movies and crap. So
and he's got like cancer or something, which you probably got from the byproducts that he's been ingesting his whole life from the fucking corporations, right?
Yeah.
And now they're sending him to his death on Mars.
Some people, there are definitely theories out there about the byproducts and that kind of thing, especially involving the beef company and beef corporations and everything like that. And it's interesting to see how it would be interesting to see how that plays out with the story. And with Nick, when you were sitting there talking about it, it made me think like, wouldn't it be interesting if he gets to Mars and all of a sudden there's something about Mars that causes the cancer to reverse.
It's like ultra radiation and it radiates
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
It becomes
Yeah.
a superhero
Also,
story.
I was thinking about that too. I was like, what happens if this story turns into like the opposite of Human Target, where we were promised the ending in the beginning and then it reverts back all of a sudden at the last minute? Like, I don't see any other outcome for this book other than he gets there and maybe he betrays them and then dies anyways with some kind of closure involved. I'm not sure, but I'm all for it, man.
Kind of like the whole, it's kind of like the whole of Mice and Men kind of thing, except for it's not, you're not killing your friend. You're just, I'm totally going to go out on my own terms.
On your own terms. Yeah. Well, Mark Russell's so good though. I love all the stuff he's putting out. So cool. Brian, did you read this one?
This is making me feel bad because like I'm a huge Mark Russell fan, and like this one, and then there was another series that like did he do that Not All Robots?
Not All Robots, yeah.
So both of those, like, I completely missed those. Like
that one was amazing as well. That was like top, that was the top 20 for me last year.
It's like everything I've read from him is like it's never a miss. Like every single issue, I love it. Even like I don't know if you all are reading that, like My Bad, which he's working on with somebody else who's writing a lot of that. That's on that Ahoy label.
Oh, okay.
And it's got like it's kind of a spoof of the Cape and Cowl kind of thing. I mean, like the main character is the Chandelier, and he's kind of like Batman, but he's like a light based, like he's a billionaire that owns a light company. I mean, it's ridiculous, and that's the one that has Acid Chimp in it. I don't know, but and then like recently, he had that Superman Space Age one. I mean, that was just like,
that was awesome.
Like, he's such a, I don't know, man. He does talk about capitalism a lot, by the way, because like, but he's got much bigger range than just bashing on capitalism. I mean, there's a lot of really cool stuff in there, and a lot of heart in a lot of his books and everything. Because the first book I read by him was I actually got a chance to meet him in Portland at a signing at a really small bookstore. This was like 6 years ago when he was doing Flintstones.
Oh wow!
And and the artist on Flintstones is Steve Pugh, who's the one on is it Billionaire Island? Yeah,
that's
a book. Reading that one, but I highly recommend that. I never thought in my life that I'd read a Flintstones comic and thought it was great, but this is like it's phenomenal, man. Like Mark Russell can turn lots of things into just like really cool concepts and everything.
Yeah.
Like that. So no, I sorry. Yeah, I'm gonna pick these up. Yeah, these sound fantastic.
I think it's definitely worth it, and you're right. It's like some people can take on political concepts in like a real kind of annoying way almost, but then some people can pick it up and make it real smooth. And his dialogue in Space Age was the same thing, because remember Space Age was super thick. It was probably 2-3 times a regular comic. Was 50 something pages, whatever it was, and we flew through it, right? Like it read so quickly. And this is very much the same way. It's very like I said, inner monologue heavy. There's not a lot of dialogue except for when he's interacting with people over like a camera. And I mean, like it reads so quickly, so it was just so cool. I loved it so much. Yeah.
The test, I think, of a lot of those kind of things where they get a little political is how easily can you, do the Mary Poppins thing, the spoonful of sugar with the medicine, and how there are some concepts and ideas and everything like that are just, you can't help but them being in your face, and you're either going to talk about them and have representation or you're not. But then there's things like ideas and themes like the evils of capitalism, where if you do it right, you can get even the biggest fan of capitalism to think. And if you can at least do that, then you've made the impact that you need.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Heard from everybody. Robbie, are you up next? Or is he not coming back? Manny.
He skipped you guys.
He skipped us.
So
if we go another round, it'll be Manny's turn. If we go another round.
But I've used up all my indies. Like I tried to tell myself, Nick, that I wasn't going to go only indies. So I'm going to have to go the only option I think left really, because at the end of the day, you guys know, shit, I didn't speed this graphic up.
Oh,
It's
jeez.
going to very slowly write Lemire Love on here. So I'm just, it's there. Gosh, I got to remember to do that next month. Swamp Thing, Green Hell. This was a very, very good ending for this book. It was a really good ending for this book in the sense that, like, it felt like a really cool place to close it. I felt like as a Constantine story, this was a really good ending. I don't know that I totally buy that like Swamp Thing's happy ending, because like I feel like this whole thing has been about whether or not a hero actually earns a rest, right? Is there a time when you can walk away from conflict, walk away from your responsibilities and rest? Like, do you get that? If you have great power, do you have great responsibility no matter what happens? I feel like I've heard that before. So like when this ends, and it just kind of ends, you know, like Constantine does what he does, and the story ends, and he's like, so then Swamp Thing earns his rest, but does he really earn his rest? I feel like that's the lingering question at the end of the day. Jeff Lemire sets up a brave new world where, you know, the avatars have taken control over their elemental masters, and is that something as a society we should do? Get rid of the stranglehold that the beef company and the Trubon paste supply company has over us before they send us all to Mars. I think like that, those are interesting questions that Jeff Lemire asks. I don't know if there is enough. I don't know that he had enough road in this to really tell the story in a way that's super satisfying, but I still think it was a great read, really well done artwork, and a great, you know, Constantine story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really liked Swamp Thing Green Hell. I do think that obviously the delays were with the artwork, and it kind of got rushed a little bit, and I don't think we got the full Doug Monkey effect. But I was satisfied with the ending. What about you, Carrie?
I am satisfied. I really am. The second issue of this that we had to wait like a year or so for, that was very satisfying to me art wise. There was that one, like in that second issue. I know we're talking about the third, but in the second issue where you turn the page and it is a 2-page spread of just like these nasty avatar beings, you know, coming forth. You guys know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh,
yeah. Okay. So like it's this 2-page, you know, magazine, you know, size spread of like just all kinds of color, but all kinds of grotesque coming at everyone. That was just really awesome. I think that Constantine making the move at the end, like in this third issue, to try and fix everything because he knows it's not going to be enough. I think that sometimes it's only normal and it's only human. It's the human side of Alec Holland that wants the rest. You know, he's done everything that he's done. He's like, you know what? It's I'm done. Why are you bringing me back? You know, and it's because, you know, he hadn't had the moment to hit that fierce urgency of now, you know, and it was literally like anybody, like any gruff, tough, you know, old man. It was the little girl in her doe eyes looking at him that made him think of his daughter. And sometimes you have to come face to face with the reason why you're doing any of this shit in the first place to kind of snap you back into it. And you know, but even then throughout the story he's, you know, 2 seconds away from giving up all the time. But it all just it's like he's got to get that pep talk every so often.
Yeah, right.
It's because Alec is a quitter. Levi would not have quit.
That's
Yeah.
Oh no, Levi's
He
a
would have kept
agree.
freaking going, which
Yeah.
is why Rob needs to come back to that.
He'd hook up with some like
I
hot nuclear chick and they'd kick
absolutely-
ass. Yeah.
I absolutely loved Ron V's Ron. I wasn't even gonna
so good.
read it. It was like probably about 5 issues down. And my boyfriend, God love him, was reading every issue and he's like, "You're reading Catwoman. You are missing the meat this, what this writer's doing right now.
Good man.
And I was like, fine, I'm gonna read it. And it was just, when I finally read it, I was like, this is poetry in a comic book. And I was in love. It was amazing. And the whole thing about at the end where he's just like, we can have the avatar that effectively accepts the fact that we've moved forward as society, that we can have industry, but we need to be responsible with it. That was, I realize we're not talking about Rom V right now, but I'm a big Rom V fan here.
Yeah, we all are here at the channel. And
good
his
company.
run was great. And this was a nice thing to have kind of after that, to kind of scratch that Swamp Thing itch. Speaking of scratching that swamp itch, Brian, why don't you tell us what you thought about Green Hell?
Oh man, I loved it. And I did think to myself, I was like, man, that son of a bitch did it. He made Swamp Thing a sad dad.
Yeah.
I mean, Swamp Thing, who would have thought he would be a sad dad? But he did it. He went there, but no, I'd say it's definitely worth the wait, because that was a pretty big gap. I would say the only knock is that some of the art, was a little inconsistent, because like Doug Monkey's art is really cool. when he gets it going. I mean, it's like the I don't know. I really like his line work. I know he uses a lot of lines, a lot of times, but like he does it in a really cool way. And some of it showed in this issue, though. I mean, I really liked the Animal Woman when she came out to the scene, with the lion and everything like that. That looked so cool. It was just so crazy the way that looked. I mean, I don't know.
The groundhog is one of those moments where I'm cheering at the dinner table. Reading the book. Yes, fucking yes! It was so
absolutely.
It was awesome.
Absolutely. But and I thought it was a great finale. And so those are like Elseworlds ones, right? They're not like necessarily part of continuity, because I felt like that gives writers a way to not leave the status quo, right? It's like, because that, I mean, they killed the Parliament of Trees, right? And they, the red, and all that stuff. So like, it's actually like, kind of fresh start, right? I mean, they've got, other ground to work on from here. And you don't normally get to do that, in these, continuity runs and things like that. So I did appreciate that part of it. But yeah.
What about you, Nick?
It's really good.
We actually got shorted this book, and I took the high road and gave it to some people who don't read a whole lot. So I did not read issue number 3, but I loved issue number 1 and number 2. We talked about it every month, those issues came out. And I got to say, even like we knocked the art a little bit in issue number 2, but like, I'm kind of like flipping through it a little bit. It's like, it's better than half the crap out there, honestly. No. even with it being a little bit subpar compared to issue 1.
Yeah, that's just the expectation, though, right? Yeah. Because if you've read other Doug Monkey stuff, right, you're expecting.
Of course. Oh yeah, of course. Level. Yeah. Yeah, so, I'm super excited for it. I should get it next week. I'm excited for it. I'm glad you guys loved it.
Oh yeah, Carrie, what's your next pick?
Okay, so I was gonna go for another big 2, but there's this book that I read all 5 issues of. I did not hear a lot of people talking about it. And Robbie, to your credit, you were talking about it every month. And I was talking about it. And I put it out there on Instagram. I was like, is anybody talking about this book besides me and Robbie? And that's Cherish.
This
is a lovely cover. I got 2 of these. I got this cover, and then I think it was the cover A. Speaking of, we were mentioning Katana Collins earlier, for what she did on the White Knight Harley Quinn series. Well, Katana Collins wrote this book. I know that Robbie's friend was the editor, Joe Corello was the editor of the book. This is a book that 5-issue series from Dynamite, and it was another one of those, like, tried and true kind of storylines where you have the woman who witnessed her father's death as a child, almost died herself, and she's left for dead, and she comes back as an adult, takes on a new identity to basically avenge her father's death. It's a good old fashioned revenge avenge kind of story that pairs, science and science fiction. She's got this, the suit that she can put on and everything like that. It's like sexy, hot women, mix it with Inspector Gadget, and you've got Cherish. You've got the love story in there. You've got the revenge avenge thing. You've got, hot, sexy woman, mixed with Inspector Gadget. And the only complaint I have is that I think it should have been 6 issues. I think that there was a lot of revelation that happened in the last issue about, her mother, her sister, all these things, that it would have been nice to have a 6th issue to let it breathe a little bit. But
I agree.
Oh well, this is what we've got. But for what we've got, it's still great.
Yeah. And I liked Cherish. I had a lot of fun. I like your point of it needing another issue. It could have definitely spaced some of those revelations out a little bit towards the end and not felt so kind of stuffed in. But we had Katana and we had Joe on to talk about this book. And of course, it's published by our friends over at Dynamite. So I'm a big fan. I love the Inspector Gadget thing because that's exactly what it's a sexy Inspector Gadget. Speaking of sexy gadgets, Brian, I know you're following this book. What do you think?
Yeah, I love this book. Yeah. And actually the gadget part was probably my favorite, some of my favorite bits, like the, at least art wise, like, cause that stuff just popped off the page, the way they, the colors, that green they chose, for her kind of signature color and everything like that. That just stuff just looked brilliant and everything like that. And I agree. I thought that last issue was kind of rushed. I mean, that could have been, that could have easily been, made into, 6 issues and everything. And I don't know. I hope we get more of it.
I mean, they left it open.
Yeah.
They left it open. So, Nick, if you're watching, Nick Barucci, more Cherish, please.
Yeah, I'll be sure to pass that message along if he's not watching. And I know that Joe and Katana have more plans if they would like to dive back into that, right? Nick, Manny, any of you two reading this one?
No, I'm not reading it.
Y'all are friends with Joe Corallo. What's wrong with y'all?
I know. Shame.
When have I ever given that impression?
Reading Dahlia in the Dark, because that's going really well too.
Yeah, Dahlia in the Dark's really good. I love it.
It's fantastic. That's a great book.
I think Joe likes me slightly more than he likes Greg, and that's not saying that.
Okay. Brian, speaking of liking Manny slightly more than Greg, Brian, why don't you tell us what's your next pick?
I'm going to go with another friend of the show, with Know Your Station, from Sarah Gailey and Liana Kangas and Rebecca Nulty on the colors. That's the same color as she had with She Said Destroy, that first book that she had came out with. But this, I think this might be Sarah Gailey's first comic book. I'm not sure. She may have done some shorter things. She's primarily a novelist, kind of like Katana Collins. But she really has a 5-issue story structure down. I mean, every issue, it's a murder mystery on if you don't know the conceit, this is the station is a, station out in space, like Earth is devastated or whatever, and the rest of humanity is on the station, but it's, and most of the people on it are servicing the rich people that, funded the station and all this stuff. And so there's that upstairs, downstairs feel, with that. And your main character is, a junkie that's a policeman. And you actually find out that she's never really been a policeman. She just was tagged with that role. So she's got all this anxiety about, trying to solve these things. And there's these mysterious murders happen. But like at the end of each issue, they have, they do the pretty cool cliffhanger and keep raising the stakes, and it keeps raising. And it's just a really great, comic book story. I mean, and Liana's art just keeps getting better and better. And she's got this like kind of AI person that AI program that she interacts with that always kind of has these like really cool colors going along with it, and has a really cool kind of the AI is almost kind of like the comic relief too, and everything like that, and that's another great thing is Liana and Sarah have a good chemistry going, and there's a lot of really good subtle humor in this. I mean, there's some in your face humor with the AI and stuff, but if you actually take time and look around, like Liana plants little jokes all the way through the art in the background and everything. So but yeah, so another great penultimate issue, and I'm really looking forward to the next one next month. I know they wrapped it up just a couple weeks ago. They got the art done and got it out, so we should be getting it soon. So yeah.
Nice. Anybody else reading this?
No, I read issue number 1. What issue is that? Is that 3?
No, this is 4.
4, jeez. Yeah, so I read issue number 1. It was interesting. It was an interesting concept, but I never kept on with it. I like the comic relief though, like you mentioned, between the AI and the character. A lot of books are doing that right now, like Barbaric, and we had that in Something to Kill the Children. There's always some kind of like sentient, tangible thing that's following the main character, and it's a pretty cool thing to lean on. So,
anybody else thoughts?
Nope.
All right, Nick, what's the next? Go ahead.
Can I see some of the art from the inside? Is it kind of very similar to the cover?
Yeah. Liana did this cover. I mean, she's kind of known for, or they're kind of known for the sparse lines.
Okay.
I'm trying to find some with the. Well, yeah, and then you get good gore and everything too.
It's very colorful.
And there's like some of the AI there. It's hard for me to. I'm not sure if it's showing up well.
I'm seeing it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, but
it's lovely.
Word, Nick, what's another one you want to highlight?
All right, we're going to go to a book I didn't see hardly anybody talk about this book this month, and it was a book that I read on a whim that blew me away, actually, from Scout Comics, and it's from story and art by Fell Hound, and it's actually called And We Love You. And this is a book that I think flew under the radar for a lot of people, and I absolutely love this book. It's exercised, which is really great, and it's basically this war story where we open up with the death of like this lone person from a squad. They were retreating or something like that, traveling during this war. They were ambushed and essentially just like mowed down. And this one female soldier is the last remaining one, kind of trying to escape. And she actually gets killed in battle as she's dying, as that, curtain's closing, as she's fading away. She's actually reliving her whole life. Past relationships that she had, failed relationships with like boyfriends or husbands or whatnot. It's reliving some of the relationships she's made with her fellow soldiers, going through boot camp, things like that. There was actually a flourishing relationship with this other female soldier during boot camp, and they had all these like promises that they were going to make after the fact, like when we get out of here, we're going to meet at this place at this time and all this stuff, because their paths after boot camp kind of split, and I'll see when we get home kind of a situation. And it was an awesome book. I liked it a lot. The art in here is very it reminds me of Punisher in a way, the art style. I don't know if I can show you anything that will really kind of showcase it, but I'll flash up a page here so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. But basically it's got like this brightness to it that Punisher has, and it's impactful. It's really great. I like seeing this woman's life flash before her. And again, it's like the nuance of like, she had this relationship that was just starting, and she had all these promises that they made to each other. And the very end, her partner makes it out of the situation and they get to that rendezvous, and like, she never shows up kind of a thing. And it's a very, very sad ending. And you think it's going to be like a positive thing. It builds up to all this positivity, but like, it's still beautiful at the same in the same way, you know, because it's like she got to have these experiences and things like that, but she never really got to see it through. So, And We Love You, a very, very surprising book. I really didn't have any expectation going in. I didn't remember what it was even about when I ordered it, and I got it in, and then I read it. I'm like, holy crap, this is actually pretty cool. So totally a surprise. This was a sleeper hit of the week when it came out, for sure. So check that one out.
Anybody else read that one?
No,
I did.
Sold the hell out of it.
That was a Kickstarter, actually.
That's right, it was. Yeah,
Hunt did that on the Kickstarter, so I backed that. That's why I didn't pick it up at the store, because I already had the copy.
Nice.
But yeah, I love that. You nailed it. You nailed it in that review of that. It's a really it's heartbreaking on levels, right? You know, and everything, but it's not done in any hacky way or anything like that. I mean, it's like it's a really solid read, and I'd recommend that. That's a great pick.
Yeah, it was great.
Nice. All right. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to wrap this one up, so it's time for the rapid fire. Manny, why don't you kick us off?
All right, rapid fire. Let's go. Superman. Oh shit! All right, Superman Lost. I thought was really good. I don't know, my graphics aren't working. I thought that one was really good. A lot of stuff happening. A lot of dialogue, but otherwise, I thought it was cool. It weird alien craft under the water, Event Horizon. Shit's been done before, but I thought Christopher Priest did a good job. The Kaya issue number 6, I thought was a cool way to kick off the next arc. I really enjoyed that first arc, and I thought the recap was good, but not focusing too much on the recap, but instead giving us a flashback, which deepens the mythology and still reminds us of what came before. I thought that one was really good. And then, you know what? I'm going to shout it out because I've been shitting on it for a really long time, but fucking Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was pretty good this week. Like, I'm not going to lie. It was a pretty good issue. I like what's happening with Mistress Violet now that I've eased into it. I was a little apprehensive about coming off the Eltarian War, going through that ho-hum Death Ranger shit, and then now we're just going back to Rita and Zed, but they're finding ways to keep it fresh and keep it interesting. So I'm gonna shout that one out, and you know what? I think I'll leave the rest for everyone else.
All right, appreciated that, Manny. That's some really good picks. Carrie, got any rapid fire for us?
So you want me to pick like 4 like Manny did, or like how many? Like
just rapid fire, go through whatever the rest of what you want to talk about is.
Crap. Okay. Scarlet Witch number 3. Kind of read like a mythology storybook. It was really cool. How it's like somebody was paying attention that day in English class in high school when they were reading Beowulf. The whole great power, great responsibility right here. There was a lot of like full page paneling that happened, and that gave it that whole like storybook like feel. I really love that. Can't be a DC lover without mentioning Batman and the Joker, the Deadly Duo. I don't think I really have to say much about this one. It's been consistent every month. We've got the last one coming up next month. And we've like typical tried and true story arc kind of stuff. We had the major climax, and now we're going to have that whole falling action with that last issue. It's really great. Why not mention Rom V, Detective Comics, very solid run, poetic story structure of an actual opera. Really cool. If you're not looking at it, check it out. And you know what? No need to spend that extra $1. Just get that Kegel cover A every month. It's
beautiful.
Beautiful. Justice Society of America. It's Jeff Johns, and he's writing Justice Society. Things are really puzzle pieces are starting to fall in with this one. So that's going to be really cool.
Those are some really nice picks, some great stuff. Brian, you got rapid fire for us.
Yeah, y'all already taken some of mine. I did want to point something out about Kaya, though, is that this issue won't be reprinted when they do trades, because it's like he's going to do they're 5-issue story arcs, and then in between each one, he's going to do like a one-shot kind of story with a background, back matter kind of one, because this one had a extra story from Alcofa on it. So be aware that if you're into Kaya, you're going to have to get some of the individual issues. And yeah, I'm loving Ron V's detective run. It's like I'm back into Batman, So, but I got a Immortal Sergeant here. This is Joe Kelly and Ken Nomura. It's the same team that did I Kill Giants, which is one of my favorite books pretty much ever. I won't talk about it too much, but it's not a sad dad. It's an angry dad story. But the car, the grill, and the headlights are meant to look like the main character, the grandfather. So, kind of like how sometimes pets kind of look like their owners. He thought the car was so lived in, he should make it look like him. And I busted out laughing when I saw that. So this is a great comic. And then this is one I picked up because I know the editor loosely from a group. It's called Aetheris. It's a one shot. And it's a really beautiful, it's mostly poetry. Like there's no dialogue balloons. It's all narration balloons, but it's clearly just a poem about a woman's journey through like grief and trauma and everything. And it's just a really beautiful read. This one I'm gonna have to reread later because it was, trying to read. This isn't the kind of book that you read in like 5-10 minutes and, get much out of. For the big two, I really liked the Batman One Bad Day, Ra's al Ghul. Did I get it right, Robbie? So
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, really love this one. He's always been one of my favorite villains in any universe, and he's got a point in all this, and I think that's like it's really cool. And then also it definitely harkened back to that Son of the Demon trade where technically that's Damian's first appearance. That it was I think it was Mike Barr, and I can't remember who the artist was. It came out in the late 80s, but like the fight between them two, that's basically pulling straight from that issue and everything, and really had a good time with that one. And then I thought the finale for Damn Them All was pretty good, and felt like it's open for some more stuff, and I'm really hoping this keeps going because I think there's a lot more really cool stuff in there, and I did like the kind of twist at the end there, so that was pretty good. And then last thing I'll point out is that this from Archie, the Pop's Chocolate Shop of Horrors, which ended up in my box because Liana did a short in it. Just wanted to point out that the cover is by Adam Gorham, who's one of my favorite artists, and his daughter, when he found out he was just drawing a hamburger, a gross hamburger, she decided to draw one, and they ended up putting her drawing in the back as part of the sketch back matter. And like he took her to the store, and he didn't tell her that it was going to be in there. And he took her to the store and had her open it up and look through. And he got a picture of her, just so she's got her first public work out there. I thought that was really cool. So just wanted to put that one.
That's awesome.
That is really cool, man. Thank you for sharing that, Nick. Rapid fire.
Nemesis Reloaded, issue number 3. Man, this book was insane. If you liked issue number 1 because it's fast paced and just crazy action and things like that, this issue I think was even crazier. So if you like this one, kind of a retelling of the original stories, what I'm understanding. And if you want your Batman turned Punisher written by Donny Cates, this is what you got. So this is a pretty awesome book. Recommend that one. 3 issues in. Monarch issue number 2. Really love this one. Issue number 1 was good. Issue number 2 was amazing. I love this one right here. We explore our aliens a little bit more, who took over Earth, the relationship between them. This little boy I didn't see that coming at all. Very, very heartfelt. This is a great issue so far, or a great run so far. And I loved issue number 2, way better than issue number 1, I thought. And issue 1 was pretty solid. Kelly Thompson, Black Cloak, issue number 3. Again, they said it was a Blade Runner meets Saga. I can definitely see those vibes when I read this book. It's very subtle. The art's extremely clean. It's very colorful. I love the world building in here, the different characters and how they're interacting, the murder mystery they're trying to solve. And it's a really great little detective story. It's set in this like fantasy world. So check that one out too. And then last but not least, we have from Image Comics, The Forged from Rucka. This was a really weird book, but I had a blast reading it. I actually read it twice this week. it's like they're trying to colonize this galaxy. There's this empire that's doing that. We have this very special breed of people that are specifically designed to like be physically tough enough, mentally tough enough to operate in these mech suit kinds of things, perform these various tasks. But there's some sabotage stuff going on with like this evil, weird, like sexy empress kind of a chick. It's very, very weird story. And it was great, man. The Forge was definitely a sleeper of the week, I think. And I'll leave it there.
Nice. I'm glad you like those. All right, everybody. That's going to conclude tonight's show. I do want to invite everybody in particular to go check out Carrie's channel. I really appreciate you joining us. There's links in the description below to everybody's channel, except for Brian. He doesn't have one because he's just here with me when we do the creator interviews. And that's, that station. I appreciate it so much. But everybody go sub up to OUG, officially Unofficial Geek. We are dipping out. We'll catch you next time on the last Thursday of April.